That's right! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Rohith Dharr.
And PerGron.
And welcome to the most elite movie award show this side of the Oscars. That's right, move over Derek Savage and the 420 Awards. It's the Golden Tikis.
The first
Full
ever.
respect to anyone who actually knows what the 420 awards are. Full respect. They're not what you think. I'll say that much. The awards that they give out on the 420 awards are movie awards. Anyways. All right, guys. So I'm very excited about this. Over the past month, yes, you, the audience, the viewing audience, has been voting on a number of polls, on a number of categories, 17 to be exact. And we're going to get right into it. But first, Rohith, PerGron, you were also here to count down your top 5 movies of the year of 2023. We will get into that, but I swear to God, guys, I'm going to keep you on your toes, and you are not going to see it coming when I'm going to ask for what your numbers are. So we'll see. I might not even go in order. I might just be like, Rohith, what's your number 3?
Gotcha. Understood.
So we'll see. All right. So, yeah, guys, we're just going to go in order of when the polls first came out. So let's get things started. Best voiceover performance. All right. This was a big year for this. I think we had 5 really, really honorary nominees that we'll go over right now. We have Robert Pattinson from The Boy and the Heron, the English dub, of course. We have Bradley Cooper from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Jack Black stealing the show in the Super Mario Brothers movie. And we have Haley Steinfeld just giving it her all in Across the Spider-Verse. And Chloe Grace Moretz giving a lot of character and endearing qualities and heart to the title character of Nimona. All right, what do you guys have to say about this elite group of voiceover nominees?
There's some good picks. I want to remember which one I picked or which one I thought was the best. I think the ones that really stood out to me were Bradley Cooper's voice acting performance in Rocket in Guardians 3 and Robert Pattinson's performance in The Boy and the Heron. For Bradley Cooper, I think just the level of vulnerability and anguish that he was able to express, especially in the flashback scenes as Rocket, is some of the best, not only voice acting, but just acting for Bradley Cooper in his filmography. So, and I think for any actor or just anyone's interested in the craft of acting, to really pay attention to Bradley's, decisions in his vocal cadence and his inflections in the flashback scenes, and just the way he's able to have that be distinct to how he inflects and is able to vocalize, interact as a current Rocket. And for Boy and the Heron, Robert Pattinson, he is a complete camouflage chameleon.
Yeah.
And I really want Robert Pattinson to do more voiceover stuff or voice acting stuff. It's like I had a close friend of mine, when he and I watched the film, he thought Robert Pattinson's character was voiced by Willem Dafoe. And that just shows the level. And not only is Robert Pattinson a talented actor, he's also a really talented voice actor. And I feel like for the movie, especially the English stuff, for it to be as compelling and as engrossing as it is, Robert Pattinson's voice acting performance as the Heron himself really lends a lot to getting you in and fully invested into the world, fully invested into the characters populates that world. And I think it's a voice acting performance that really, if Robert Pattinson's really willing to do more beyond just doing the dubs for Miyazaki films, I think people will laud him and really be excited for his capabilities as voice actor.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
I'm going to ignore those two for right now because I think they were the two front runners. I think they were the clear two, in my opinion, that should have gotten it. I ended up going with Rocket, Bradley Cooper's Rocket. I think my heart wanted to go with Robert Pattinson. I think that was my favorite, but I think Rocket or Bradley Cooper had to get it. But I want to talk about the other ones since they didn't get as much love. Chloe Grace Moretz, I think, was the weakest pull here, just because not a lot of people saw Nimona. And even if you did, it's kind of the performance that stood out the least to me.
See, I
But
don't
she's
necessarily agree with that. I think she did a
no.
lot with her character in that movie.
See, I think the animation is what did it for me that made me
Yeah.
like it. I think it could have been played by pretty much, most young sounding people, honestly.
All right. Fair
Um,
enough. Fair enough.
but I think Haley Steinfeld was a great performance in Spider-Verse. I think that one definitely deserved to be in there, though I don't know that I would pick it over a couple other honorable mentions Spider-Verse people like
I mean, there
Oscar
were a couple
Isaac.
Spider-Verse people that we were on the fence
Oh yeah.
about. Like, specifically, we were definitely on the fence about. Oh God, is it
Oscar Isaac.
I know Oscar Isaac was in our
But then who
contention.
was a Spider?
Daniel Kaluuya for Hobby Brown.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
were definitely on. He almost got in.
Yeah. So I think Haley Steinfeld again was good, and I think she plays a really good Gwen. Best cinematic Gwen that we've gotten. But
and I feel like her performance kind of carried that movie emotionally.
oh
No,
yeah, she
I
really is
think-
the main character.
I think if this was like a formal ceremony where each category had like a video, like a film, like a reel, a compilation of like each the best performance for best scene for each performance. For Haley Steinfeld, I would specifically look to like her like revealing her identity to her dad and just like the pain and just the worry with her, and also or even when she's like talking to her dad, when she comes back from the Spider Society, she really like Haley Steinfeld is really bringing in a level of vulnerability, a level of just like sadness with what she's lost and what she has to go through in this movie. And that's something that I think for a lot of other noteworthy celebrity actors, they just talk as they would just talk in a live action film and don't necessarily put in the like effort. Because I think for a lot of live action actors who do voiceover work, they're trained to emote with their body and their eyes, and you can't have that in a booth. Whereas for Haley Steinfeld, she understood the assignment of what voice acting is, and you really have a sense of her being through her inflection, through her like trembling sounds, and I think that's something that is really appreciative, especially for such a film that dealt with a lot of heavy stuff, especially on the Spider-Verse, meta,
For
if
sure.
you will.
yeah, and
All right.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
hold on. We didn't even discuss Jack Black, who I think is one of those traditional actors that could have just phoned it in, like Seth Rogen did in Donkey Kong. But he really was the heart of the movie. I mean, his song was the heart of the movie. It's kind of what made it as good as it was. I think I'm not a huge Mario guy. I think the movie was fine. You're not going
But
to
he
see it
was
in my top
definitely the
5 list.
standout part of it.
But
for sure.
yeah, Jack Black as Bowser was my favorite part, and anytime he was on it, it was the part that I was the most into. So I definitely think all of them deserve to get in, but I think we picked a solid top 5. And let's see what everybody voted.
Okay, Kogias says he knows what the 420 awards are. Good. And you're right, Kogias. Daddy Derek does host it. Call him by his proper name. God damn it. LED says she voted for Haley Steinfeld, which is a very respectable vote. But the actual Golden Tiki goes to Bradley Cooper. Hey, look at that. Something actually went right for Bradley Cooper this award season.
Oh, that is so mean, Tiki. But true.
Oh, I fucking hate Maestro too.
Oh,
Don't even
Maestro's
get me started.
Maestro's a bad movie.
All right.
I haven't seen Maestro, and I feel like I may not like it, but I may not dislike as much as you. But I have yet to see that, and like that May, December, and Killers of the Flower Moon are three movies that I still haven't seen yet, and I hope to see them by.
I mean, May December is really solid. I'll vouch for May December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch one of the three,
Yeah,
that would be the one I'd say watch.
All right. So, congratulations, Bradley Cooper. Most disappointing. Maestro. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I feel like all five of these movies kind of speak for themselves. We have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which we knew from the start was probably going to be the front runner here. We have Next Goal Wins, which I know some people didn't hate this as much as I did, but for me, this is just basically Taika Waititi's The Love Guru. Like, it's that bad. I think it kind of tanks Taika's career. We have A Knock at the Cabin, which is just like very much okay, and it could have been a lot better than it was. It had some decent parts to it, but it just kind of fell apart. We have Napoleon, that I'm convinced is going to be a better movie in the 4-hour cut, but because the version that we have now is so messy, yeah, that's on there. And then kind of in a similar vein to Napoleon, we have Beau is Afraid, which Ari Aster, after like just knocking it out of the park twice, he was close with Beau is Afraid, because Beau is Afraid has genuinely some of the best stuff in his career, but it's also got some of the worst stuff that we've seen in any modern horror movie in the past few years. So yeah, very uneven mixed bag of movies there. What do y'all
Joaquin Phoenix definitely whiffed.
Yeah, the rare dual nomination for Joaquin Phoenix.
right.
So
that's true. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, so I'll here's my 2 cents on the nominees. Dial of Destiny, I feel like in comparison to other blockbuster films, I don't think it was personally a disappointment. I liked it more than this. This is gonna be this may or may not be a hot take, but I'll just put it out there. I think Dial of Destiny is better than both Temple of Doom and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, and I will stand by that opinion and fight it.
I'm shaking my head at you, sir.
I know you're gonna shake. Is it? Yeah, it's at least better than Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
I'm still shaking my head at you, sir.
Nah, that one I'll die on that hill with you. I think it is better than Crystal Skull.
No, okay. You guys are wrong, but that's fine. I still respect you.
But Napoleon, for me, is my pick for the most disappointing film. And I think to the fact that the marketing of this film was like Ridley Scott, director of Gladiator, Martian, like an esteemed director taking on one of the most noteworthy historical figures in the world, Napoleon Bonaparte. And you have a world-class actor in Joaquin Phoenix playing such a character. The trailers were great. I'm excited. I watched it with my parents, my sister, and on Thanksgiving weekend. With the way this movie turns out, I do not believe that the 4-hour cut is, if anything, I feel like the movie's worse if there's a 4-hour cut of the movie. The central focus of the movie being Napoleon and Josephine's relationship is like just drags the pacing of the film. Joaquin Phoenix has his most questionable acting in his interactions with Vanessa Kirby's Josephine. Oftentimes, the scenes feel like an SNL sketch. There will be a stern motion of Joaquin Phoenix's mouth that, for anyone that knows what I'm talking about, will know that I question whether Joaquin Phoenix just made those decisions, whether Ridley Scott just directed him to do those things, or a bit of both. All in all, when the movie works in the battle scenes and in just certain moments where Joaquin Phoenix has a way of presenting himself in his stature, certain lines of dialogue that's delivered in a way that really shows you the cold steelness of Napoleon Bonaparte. And then here's a scene where Napoleon's horny for his wife.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't deny anything you said. You pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, My biggest fear about the 4-hour cut is that it's just going to be more of him and Josephine.
No, that is the 4-hour cut. Like
And
really, Scott said it's going to be more. It's going to delve more into Napoleon and Josephine's relationship.
That's not
Look,
what we
I
need.
just think the editing is probably going to be a little bit more even in the 4-hour cut. We'll see.
See, I won't. I'm just not going to watch.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I think out of all of these, I mean, none of them would have been my personal pick for most
What would have been your
disappointing of the year.
personal pick?
I would have gone Wish. I thought Wish was for the 100th.
Oh, Wish almost made it on.
It
was
almost
between,
made it in.
It was between Wish and Beau is Afraid. It was between those two. Yeah.
But out of these 5, I would go Beau is Afraid because I went in expecting to love it. And usually when I expect to love a movie, I at least like it. Like I go in and
but even that kind of sucks, right? Where you go in expecting to love it and you just like it. That sucks in its own right.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly.
But I'll come out of a movie that I went in expecting to love and defend it no matter what. Like I went in like I for a little while was a defender of the last season of Game of Thrones just because I was excited for it. And then it
you poor man.
I was in such
copium,
such denial. The second episode of the final season, I will say, I really enjoy, but that's besides the point. But no, so like I was really ready to just come out and be like, yeah, even if it's not great, I'm ready to defend this movie. I couldn't defend it. I walked out.
Did the giant penis in the attic get you? Was that
I was out before that.
So was I, honestly.
I loved the stuff in the city at his apartment. I loved the stuff with Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
I was even kind
after that, it fucking falls off a cliff so hard as soon as he leaves Nathan Lane's house.
So I was on board for the very beginning of like the Midsummer Night's Dream segment is what I referred to it as. I was on board when it started. I'm like, oh, this is a neat stylistic thing, and then it just kept going,
and then it kept going,
and then we get to the stuff with the giant penis monster. Look, I get it.
Suddenly turns into like Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah,
with the trial.
Like I get it. Ari Aster's going through some shit, and like I hope his therapist is paid well. But oh my god, I can't even defend this movie. Like I came out and I didn't hate it from like a production standpoint. I'm like, I get what they were going for, but I will never watch this movie again. I will never recommend this movie to anybody. And that to me is the biggest disappointment part. Cause were my expectations for Indiana
You were ready to like hold it up as like, oh yeah, I like it's a weird movie, but you really should.
Yeah, I was ready for it to be number 1 for the year. I genuinely was. And like, yeah, was Indiana Jones a little bit disappointing? Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I came out of it. I'm like, yeah, that was Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is my favorite fictional character of all time. Harrison Ford is one of my favorite actors of all time. I'm like, I can enjoy this. Knock at the Cabin, I thought was fine. Next Goal Wins. I just thought it was just another one of those Mighty Ducks bullshit movies. So it was fine. But yeah, Beau is Afraid was definitely my pick out of these 5.
All right. Okay, let's see. Little Blue says, for me, I don't hate any of the Indiana Jones films. Kokiya says the last season of Game of Thrones is underrated.
Underrated as in good? Are you watching the same thing that we did?
All right, well, guys, this really isn't a surprise, but the Golden Tiki in this situation does in fact go to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But I feel like in this situation, this very much was kind of like an anti-popularity contest.
Yeah. No, nobody else besides maybe like I don't even know if you are Rohith, but I don't think anybody besides maybe you and me, Tiki, would have been like, yeah, Beau is Afraid is gonna be my number 1 of the year.
I honestly, I wasn't even there with Beau is Afraid. Yeah. I was looking forward to it, but I wasn't like number 1 of the year.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone.
I wish it went with the other title, Nightmare Boulevard. That just
same,
way better title. Beau is Afraid should be the log line that's on the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they should have cut it down like an hour.
Yeah. All right, so you guys ready to talk about some good stuff again?
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about some soundtrack albums. And I put this category in here specifically because I feel like the soundtrack album and the art of the soundtrack album has been making a little bit of a comeback this year. So to go over the nominees, this is actually one of the categories I was really excited about. We have Air, Barbie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, The Holdovers, and Guardians Volume 3. So yeah, big heavy hitters. Out of the 5 of these, Air is the one that I'm not the most familiar with. These two kind of recommended Air. But honestly, the other 4, I will say, have been on my Spotify rotation throughout the year. I'll comfortably say that.
Yeah, I mean, I am an indie folk girly. I absolutely fucking adore that style of music. So the Holdovers to me is just like a warm hug of a
The
soundtrack.
Holdovers, that whole album is just such a
Oh,
vibe album for sure.
I've picked up so many songs. I mean, Cat Stevens' "The Wind" being like the weakest song on the album to me
right.
is insane because I adore Cat Stevens and "The Wind." But that being said, when I watched Air, I remember walking out of Air, and the first thing I said to my friend, we went to see it together. First thing I said was, "That was a fucking banger of a soundtrack." It was all the best like '80s music, and we double featured it with Mario. So getting the same songs in some ways, and just seeing them in context, not in the Mushroom Kingdom, was crazy. But I mean, there's a clear winner here.
Yeah,
in
this one,
terms,
it's like I want to give credit to all of these. Like I think the Barbie soundtrack was pretty revolutionary in
oh
its
yeah,
own right.
and give it credit for being the only one with like mostly original songs.
Sure,
Um,
totally.
yeah.
Let's see, and then also Mutant Mayhem, also just a very risky soundtrack album to a kids film to have
Oh
mostly
yeah,
hip hop stuff and old school hip hop stuff, but it works really well for the vibe of that album
oh yeah.
and the movie. But yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised here. The Golden Tiki in this situation does in fact go to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Well, just out of curiosity, since for you gentlemen, what was your favorite song for the Guardians 3 soundtrack?
Oh, I think we're gonna have the same answer, but for me, it's definitely easily gonna be "The Dog Days Are Over."
That is also my answer.
That is not my answer.
No.
Okay,
It is it's the Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Trying to remember the name off the top of my head. 3.
Did Earth, Wind, and Fire have a?
September. Yep. Yep. That's the song. Yeah. No, Reasons. Reasons by Earth, Wind, and Fire. It plays when like Adam gets into the Guardian ship
Oh.
and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
for me, a close second would probably be Creep. And
Yes.
just if it was just the original recording, like the studio recording of Creep,
It
I would
wouldn't
be
work.
like, "What are you doing, James Gunn? What are you doing?" But for it to be like the live acoustic cover, I'm like, genius, fucking genius.
And especially paired with like Rocket singing like at a low hummed song itself, like, oh, that's so good. Also like the song that's played when the Guardians are just getting onto the organic planet is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones.
Oh yeah.
Okay, LEB says she's a pretty big Florence and the Machine fan, so the Dog Days Are Over.
See, I'm not even that big of I mean, I like Florence and the Machine, don't get me wrong. But I think it really is in the context of that moment. I can never listen to that song and not think of the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which had me in fucking tears. Like, I cried at 2 movies this whole year. One of them was Leaving Beau is Afraid, and the other one was Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
All right, well, that was a pretty straightforward award. Let's go to an award that's maybe not going to be quite so straightforward, although it probably will be given the winner. Best Original Song. So for this, we have Peaches from the Mario movie. We have I'm Just Ken, of course. We have my personal favorite, God damn it, I Will Die on This Hill. I am so sad this didn't get nominated for an Oscar. Dear Alien, Who Art in Heaven from Asteroid City. Knowing What I Know Now, which I consider to be like the one song from Wish, which is actually okay. High praise, right? And then also You've Never Had Chocolate Like This, which is the one song from Wonka that I actually remember besides Pure Imagination. High praise, right? Okay, so yeah, obviously the Wish and Wonka songs on here weren't really big contenders, but any thoughts on the other three?
I think we picked the best song for our purposes from Barbie. I don't think we picked the best song from Barbie.
Are you thinking it's the one that's actually going to win? What Was I Made For?
I think it was What Was I Made For. I would also put Dance the Night over I'm Just Ken, to be honest.
Oh, really? Dance the Night over
I like I'm Just Ken as like the meme of it all. I really do. It's not a good song.
I disagree. I'll like. Here's the thing for the Billie Eilish song, I think it's the way that song plays in the scene itself. I will concede that out of all the songs of the Barbie soundtrack, Billie Eilish's song is like the best like needle drop in the movie. And like especially with the footage of all like the girls playing with their dolls, like that's emotionally moving and effective. I think just pound for pound for the song in terms of like the performance by Ryan Gosling, the number, all that stuff. I think I'm Just Ken has such a iconic element to it that even if people get sick and tired of the song, it's a song that's like so pervasive, so pervaded the pop culture zeitgeist that over time, though, like I'm Just Ken is going to be a song that alongside other original songs from movies will be something that people will kind of like have stuck in their head whether they want to or not. And I think Speed Drive by Charlie XCX is also like underrated song from the soundtrack.
Any love for Dear Alien, Who Art in Heaven besides me?
I've seen Asteroid City twice, and I can't remember that song.
That's a song by Maya Hawke's, like the student group, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. It's delightful.
I remember it happening. I don't remember the song. In all honesty, like I remember I've seen it twice. I remember very little of it. I enjoy it because I love Wes Anderson. And I think the movie's good. It's not one of those movies that sticks in my head every individual detail because it's kind of complex.
All right. Well, guys, as you could probably guess, the Golden Tiki in this situation does in fact go to I'm Just Ken.
And a valid win. Even though I think it's not a very good song. I also don't think Peaches is a very good song.
No, it's not. It's not. Objectively, I think I'm Just Ken is at least a better song than Peaches. Yes.
But I think if you're going to pick...
But unlike the Oscars, we actually had the balls to nominate Peaches. That's the difference.
Right. I think they're both valid picks for the purposes of what represented music this year in film overall, and I think they're both valid picks. And I will listen to I'm Just Ken periodically. It's not a good song outside of the context.
You know what song on the Barbie soundtrack I will actually go out of my way to listen to, just as I'm like working out or whatever? The cover of Push.
That's honestly a better song.
No, seriously, I Will Die on This Hill. That is the best song in that movie, just from like an actual song structure point of view. I love the way they do that song in that movie.
And I love Ryan Gosling's delivery there more than I do anything.
I want to take you for granted now.
Yeah. I'm Just Ken. It's really the choreography that gets it.
Right. All right. So some comments here. Kokia says the opening song of Wonka was great. I remember liking the opening song of Wonka, but for the life of me, I don't remember how it went. So like the chocolate song I remember because it's like they're going around town and there's that little romance that's happening. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember the opening of Wonka. I remember
Honestly, I will say this much. After watching through The Bear seasons 1 and 2, the fact that Jeremy Allen White was not cast as Wonka is like one of the all-time great missed opportunities in all of casting.
I don't think Jeremy Allen White would have been a great pick for young Wonka. I think even though he looks like Gene Wilder,
he's like the fucking splitting image of Gene Wilder.
No.
He
But
doesn't
like,
just
he doesn't
look like
have,
Gene Wilder. It's more like his entire style is like Wilder-esque.
I don't think he's whimsical enough for
Yeah.
like a good Wonka. I could picture Jeremy Allen White drowning children. I could. I can't picture him milking a giraffe.
My personal opinion, I think Evan Peters would have been a great young Wonka.
I could see that. I
think,
yeah.
In my personal opinion, the movie shouldn't have existed.
Well, yeah, I think we can all agree with that.
Fair.
All right, let's see. LAB says, I voted for Ken like a normie. All are very good besides Wish. The chocolate one was probably my runner-up. She says, I probably would have appreciated Dear Alien more if I actually watched the movie. I just listened to the songs alone for the most part. That's totally fair because Dear Alien, you do kind of need the context.
Mm-hmm.
Ken winning is the first win that he approves of, says Kogias. Timothy Chalamet was the right choice. Was he though? It
wasn't as bad as I imagined. I think his singing and
not as bad as I imagined isn't exactly like a ringing endorsement for how good his cast is.
True.
I really believed him in the scene where he milked the giraffe. I really saw that. I'm like, that's only Timothy.
Right.
Tim.
Okay, moving right along, let's get to another music-based category. Best needle drop. Yeah, this is one that they don't have at the Oscars, but honestly, I think they should, because honestly, a well-placed needle drop for me can just make a movie. And so, because of that, we've got some really strong contenders here. Of course, we've got Closer to Fine from Barbie. That is very much kind of like the movie or the song that kind of like was the whole thematic heart of that film. We have the aforementioned Dog Days Are Over from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have No Diggity from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The song that played over what is, I think, pretty inarguably that movie's best fight scene.
Oh, yeah.
We have Money for Nothing from Air, and then Murder on the Dance Floor from Saltburn. Yeah, all you TikTok kids, for all you TikTok kids out there, that one's for you.
Hey, I watch it in the theaters with my friend, like a man. God damn it.
All right. I think this is honestly a really good turnout here. I think Closer to Fine is really good. I think No Diggity was a big highlight. Dog Days, going into this, I thought Dog Days was going to be the big front runner.
Yeah, I mean, I liked all of these moments. I definitely think Money for Nothing is probably the black sheep of the group. Just because I don't think anybody actually watched Air or remembers it. As much as I do enjoy it, I like it. It's the best of the corporate biopics that came out this year.
The way when the needle drop goes for Air and the song plays and when you hear MTV, it's like, oh, this movie's going for the 80s vibes, and I'm fucking loving it. And I think, and I really appreciate. I don't quite remember the needle drop for Barbie as much, but for the other ones, like the way that they are placed enhance either the themes, the aesthetics, or just the overall ambiance / atmosphere of the movie. And I think one out of the categories in the Golden Tikis, this is probably one of the better list of nominees for a category I've seen so far.
Oh yeah. And I think if you had asked me a month ago when this poll came out, I would have gone Saltburn. because I love that moment.
Oh yes.
Um,
Oh yeah. No.
After being on TikTok for the last month, I would not choose that.
Yeah.
But I think for the moment that absolutely worked. I think all of these are just genuinely really
Right.
really solid needle drops.
Well, like I said, for the front runner for a long time, even in the poll, was Dog Days Are Over. But at the last minute, an underdog came out, and honestly, this was one of the coolest underdog victories in all of the first annual Golden Tikis. The Golden Tiki for best needle drop goes to No Diggity.
Yeah, that was my pick, and
I honestly think that's genuinely awesome. I loved seeing that happen.
I think what probably like made a lot of people go for that choice is because I think the movie came out in streaming probably like a month or two before I think a month before the or I think like that movie just got a lot of traction when it came on streaming.
Sure.
I think that scene, especially when you watch on YouTube clips, like you'll see people say, "Oh, this is such a great." Like the way that I think the choreography for the fight scene goes, and sort of the transitions and how each part of the song really pairs well. No dialogue; it's just pure visual and pure sound. And I think that is such a great example of how a needle drop can make a scene feel alive and just feel like seared into your memory as an iconic moment. And
Yeah,
especially
I was very happy to see this win. Like, like with Dog Days, it's like, because you have to understand, like from my perspective, it's like, okay, like Bradley Cooper wins voiceover, which is understandable, and then Guardians wins soundtrack album, which is understandable. But at a certain point, I'm sitting here and I'm like, fuck, is Guardians going to win like literally everything that it's nominated for? And so, yeah, this being a big victory, especially because the Dog Days Are Over, I mean, that's big competition. Like, that is literally the song that the entire Guardians saga goes out on. So, yeah, I was very happy to see this happen.
Yep.
All right. LEB says they appreciate the subversive win. Indeed. Kogios says if this were the Golden Dragons, Old Dad would have been nominated for every category. Oh boy. I'll say this much: if this was the Golden Dragons, there's no way Poor Things would have ever gotten on anywhere.
Has he seen Poor Things?
Yes. Check out movie memoirs from a couple nights ago. He hated it.
Oh, come on, Dragon. Appreciate some cinema.
I showed up to that one late. I have to go back and
He absolutely hated Poor Things.
Well, because it's not Toy Story.
Okay, be nice. He likes things that aren't Toy Story.
It's okay, Dragon. You can like bad movies.
Oh God, okay, be nice, guys. Come on. The man's got a different movie taste from us, but that doesn't make it a bad taste in movies. Come on. All right. Next up, we're finally out of the woods with the music-related stuff. We've just got Best Original Score. So let's just go down the list here. And for this, okay, we have May, December, but I swapped it. Okay, does anyone remember what I swapped out May, December for? I think Asteroid City, right? Is that
for score?
For best score.
I think so.
Okay, let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, because May December does have a good score, but it's not an original score.
No.
All right, so best score, we have Poor Things, we have The Boy and the Heron, we have May December, or I'm sorry, we have Asteroid City, not May December. We have Saltburn, and we have Oppenheimer.
I think for me, the standouts scores wise are Oppenheimer, Saltburn, and Poor Things. Those are movies that have a level of kind of tension, ambiance, a sense of coldness that really comes through with these scores. I think, especially for Poor Things and Saltburn, there is this kind of like a quality for me when hearing those scores for those movies. You have a sense of like an autumn, like gothic story, that's very cold, very like harsh environments, and I think for those movies they're able to really amplify sort of the individual scenes, whether it's just sort of like establishing sort of an environment, or really heightening a person's temperament, especially for Poor Things. I think those scores really do a great job of adding a level of flavor and a sense of there's certain points where it's like you cannot you cannot recall like the most iconic scenes for those movies without the score being such a prominent part of said scene. And but with that said, Oppenheimer, I feel, is just a standout masterclass in composition. And as a person who was really disappointed with how Oppenheimer turned out as a film, I think the score, but in Oppenheimer, is one of the best parts of that film. And but the fact that like now that parts of that music has kind of permeated throughout like just certain videos, or when people talk about the movie or scenes from the movie, just that score emanating, especially sort of that rising kind of like countdown element of it, um, I think is really indicative of just how pervasive that the qualities of that sound has pervaded and just collected in the cultural consciousness since Oppenheimer's come out.
All right. Yeah, for me, I was definitely, my horse was for The Boy and the Heron myself, although Poor Things was also a pretty big highlight. I described the Poor Things score as a demented Jack in the Box, and I think you can't really argue with that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just super unique. It gets caught in your head. But this one, not really a surprise, and much like the Oscars themselves, this movie's going to kind of start to do a little bit of a steamroll here in some of these other categories. So we're going to go ahead and give it to Oppenheimer for score. Not a big surprise. Great. PerGron, did you have anything to say?
Not a thing.
Okay.
I was
Just making
silent
sure.
because I don't remember any of the scores.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate your honesty. Okay, moving on, we have Best Ending. This is one of my personal favorites. I think endings can very much make or break a movie. And I think that this is another category where it's like it's nothing that the Oscars would ever do, but I think it is important to kind of analyze what movies really did go out on a high note. So, in that regard, let's talk about it. The best endings are Oppenheimer, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Talk to Me, Bottoms, and Saltburn. I'll tell you guys right now, for me, Guardians Volume 3 was great, cathartic as all hell, but Talk to Me, I think, is one of the most iconic endings, especially for a horror movie that we've had in the past decade. So that very much got my personal vote.
Yeah, I think I went Guardians just because of how cathartic it was for me. But I absolutely agree. I mean, Talk to me is one of the best endings in a movie. Forget a horror movie, like a movie. I was so content with how that movie wrapped itself up. As for the others, I mean, I thought Saltburns was a lot of fun. I was content with that one as well. Bottoms, if we're counting like the giant fight on the football field as the
Yes, we are
ending,
counting the giant
um,
fight on the football field where people die and
yeah,
get massacred
it
badly.
it was probably one of the wilder endings to me. And honestly, I think Oppenheimer here was my least favorite ending. Um, it just, I don't know. It kind of the whole movie was kind of overrated to me personally. And going into this award season, I was like, it's going to be an Oppenheimer sweep, and it looks like it's going to be that way. I think the ending was fine. It worked. But I don't know. I would have rather seen Talk to Me get a better representation. But I don't think it's gonna go that way.
I think for me, in looking over the categories, these endings, they're like these endings are great for really unique reasons. For Talk to Me, it's such a great bookend to sort of how the movie starts about, and what sort of the arc of what the main character had to go through, and just sort of the ambiance and horror, element of it. For Saltburn, I think for me, I really, really like that ending. I think I was going for it, but my thought process for me is like the song "Murder on the Dance Floor" is such a great needle drop, and I don't know like how much of what I like about that ending is just the song itself, and not necessarily the scene of Barry Keoghan's character just dancing along, and I think he's great. I think sort of the way this movie is just kind of like a talented Mr. Ripley for Gen Z. And I really like it. It's one of my favorite films of the year. I think Bottoms, the way that ending works, especially the explosion, spoilers, that is like the culmination of a running gag, is just great comedic timing. And I think the fact that it's one of the better endings this past year, I think speaks to the quality of the movie Bottoms being not just a great comedy, but really just a great, well structured movie. For Oppenheimer, I think the ending, I liked in theory what the ending was, and like the way it's directed with sort of the atomic explosion, and as you can witness in Killian Murphy's eyes. But I do think PerGron is onto something where, for the movie overall, I think it was sort of a tad overrated and maybe, in my view, disappointing that for chunks of the movie, the focus is taken away from Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer's sort of existential guilt about creating the atomic bomb, and focus on the security clearance drama, even though it has sort of one of the better scenes, or the best scene, with the whole like, atomic light coming through as Oppenheimer's getting grilled by Jason Clark's character. The way the ending, I feel, would have been more impactful if the movie was more focused on Oppenheimer's existential guilt, because that's the ending as it is would have been such a great culmination of and summation of Oppenheimer's, like conscience about the atomic bomb. Whereas a lot of the movies focus on RDJ's Louis Strauss and the whole politics of it. The ending, I feel like, just kind of feels sort of tacked on to all this other out like fluff, that I think if you were to cut out those elements, the ending just has a greater punch to it.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like an MCU ending with like him talking to Einstein. Like I saw a
Hey,
TikTok.
Albert, we're putting a team together.
Yeah. Like I saw a TikTok that had I can't remember what song it was. One of the Linkin Park songs, like the one that ends Transformers, over
like
that dialogue.
Wait, is it the whole thing where it's like if Oppenheimer came out in the 2000s?
Yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Is it numb? Is it numb? And like that to me is kind of how the ending feels. Just without the Linkin Park song. It just feels like, I don't know. I think I agree that it should have focused on his guilt more so. I think the ending was great for Robert Downey Jr.'s character, but the movie's not called Robert Downey Jr.'s character. It's called Oppenheimer.
That's just the title of the movie, not Strauss, just literally just Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
I mean, he's in my opinion the best part of it, so I would be okay with that. But no, it just felt a little, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Nolan's endings in general, but which might be a hot take, I don't know. But I don't know. This one didn't do much for me, but that being said, Tiki, you want to reveal what?
Well, guys, you're going to be thrilled to know that the Golden Tiki goes to Bottoms. I fucking wish. No, it goes to Oppenheimer.
That it does.
This is all you guys. This is all you audience.
Hey,
You
don't
want
buy
to
the
just
hand
go
that
with the
feeds you.
popular opinion the whole time?
We gave you guys like 3.5 layups here. I get that some of the audience wouldn't be allowed to watch the ending of Saltburn.
The
But,
same goes for bottoms as well, but
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I can get behind it in the way that like I was really excited.
I
when
understand
Oppenheimer was
it,
over.
and honestly, I don't like. My whole thing with Oppenheimer is that I just don't think it's like the magnum opus of Nolan's career that people are
Yeah.
treating it as.
I think
Yeah.
we're like a sizable minority of people that thought Oppenheimer wasn't that all that.
Like it's still a good movie. It's still a
Yeah.
really good movie. I just don't think it's like the end all be all of Nolan's entire filmography.
Right. For me, it ended in the top 20. Like it had a respectable end of year showing for me. I think it was like I think it was 18 for me. So like it wasn't a bad
I think it was probably similar to me, like probably like around 16. It didn't crack my top 10.
But like I don't know.
All
I don't know. It was fine.
right, that might be among the most underwhelming wins of the night.
Yeah, it's gonna be like
Nolan
that.
movie since Interstellar, and that's saying a lot.
We're just prepping you all for the Oscars when that
I know. All right, let's move on to a movie that Oppenheimer was not nominated in.
I know
All right.
I know you told us you're keeping us on our toes. My toes are hurting, Tiki.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Okay, PerGron and Rohith, what are your number 5 movies of the year? I totally forgot about that.
You want to go or you want me to go?
Oh, you can go.
All right, my number 5 was Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron.
Ooh, nice.
This was my number 1 animated
PerGron,
movie.
I actually do not know your list because remember, I was on that stream, but then I cut out.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a stream of all 170 movies that I watched.
2 streams, to be exact.
2 streams. I had to cut into 2 parts.
I was all in on the first one, but after the second one, I was like, I don't have the energy. I'm sorry, I can't.
I didn't either. Next time, I'm just gonna do some smaller lists. But yeah, I mean, The Boy and the Heron. It's my number 1 animated movie of the year. I think it exemplifies Miyazaki's career beautifully. The animation, of course, is stunning. Studio Ghibli just straight up doesn't miss when it comes to Miyazaki's movies. I mean, they did have Earwig and the Witch, so I guess I can't say they don't miss. But like Miyazaki,
not
I don't
Goro
think
Miyazaki.
Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki. I don't think he's missed. I don't think he's made a bad movie. I think he's made movies that I don't love as much as others, but I don't think he's made a bad movie. And I think The Boy and the Heron is just like a perfect example of like his entire career. I love the English dub. I watched it in both Japanese and English just to get the experience. The English dub I honestly thought was a better watch. Not just because I speak English, but because I didn't want to comment on it earlier. But Robert Pattinson fucking kills this.
Yeah, he really does. He really
he's
does.
Transformative here. And all of the other performances. I mean, Mark Hamill was great in here.
You got fucking Florence Pugh in there.
Florence Pugh was here. I was trying to figure out who was who throughout the whole movie because, like, there's a lot of performances that just didn't sound like that person, and I thought that was great. I love the amount of birds that was put into this movie. I know that's a very me thing to do, but I fucking love the
I love
amount of birds.
the Dave Bautista parrot.
Yeah, that was great. I love the adventure of it. I mean, this movie just, I absolutely adored this movie. I expected to like it. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. So it ends up as my number 5 of the year.
It's my number 3 Miyazaki movie, right behind Kiki's Delivery Service and Princess Mononoke. So it's high up for me.
I've got it at number 2 behind Princess Mononoke.
Wow, Tiki, would you not be a normie Miyazaki fan and having Spirited Away not being top 3?
Spirited Away doesn't do it for me as much as it does most Miyazaki fans. That's a whole other conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little overrated.
A little bit.
It's great. But
it's great. Yeah, it is great. It is great. It's just, yeah. All right, Rohith, what's your number 5?
So it was originally going to be Poor Things. However, my pick for number 5 is Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh man, yeah, this was a good one. And honestly, we kind of snubbed it from the nominees, and I apologize for that.
My only regret is not seeing the movie sometime last year, because I would have definitely put it up for some of the categories. The What is great about Anatomy of Fall, for those of you that don't know, I'll give you sort of the basic premise of the film. It is about this woman have who lives within a cabin in sort of like the French countryside. It's like it's snowy and all that stuff, and she's specifically actually a German national that is married to a Frenchman, and they have a child who is blind and has a dog. And what happens is that the father, the husband, is killed. It dies and from a fall. And the whole point of the movie is to determine is it's basically sort of this courtroom drama, and the mother is basically on trial because the French court system or the French prosecutors presuming that there was foul play, that she wanted to kill him, and this entire process, you really get to see quality acting that is not, unfortunately, not acting that the Academy Award gives a lot of credence or a lot of recognition to. Sandra Huller's performance as the mother, as Sandra Reuter, there is such an authenticity to how she acts and comports with her son and how she explains things. She very much feels like a mother that is being ravaged by the society that is, peering into her personal life, questioning her motives, questioning her feelings about her husband, and the way she expresses her vulnerabilities, the way she goes about trying to contextualize the evidence is presented in the court, she very much comes off as a human being that has committed some wrong actions. And the way she makes mistakes as she's telling about her past, that you wouldn't normally, that from an outside perspective, wouldn't normally want for those things to be expressed. It's very much realistic to how a person who's caught up in such a legally messy and complicated matter is brought. It's seeing the French court system and the way that they interrogate and question about a person's motives and situations is, it's dehumanizing. It's really, you feel such a level of pain and such a level of anguish for the mother to go through. And this is not even, and this is equal to that, more so for the child, the blind son played by Milo Machado Grainer. I think it last year was such a great year for young performers, young performers and young performances, and his performance. There is a certain scene where he tries to, unfortunately, do a misguided action towards his support animal. And when he's speaking to a person from the state that's overseeing his care and sort of and asking why he's doing this, when he breaks down emotionally, when he just lets out what like a needing a life raft, it is so heartbreaking. There is the level of turmoil and the level of just sheer exhaustion that both the mother and the son had to go through in this entire legal process. And at the end, with how the court case resolves, it's, you feel less triumphant as you would in a typical court drama. And in this case, it feels less like a courtroom drama and more like Kramer versus Kramer or a Marriage Story that's mixed in with a courtroom drama setting. And it is such a fascinating insight into sort of like familiar, like couple, like parenting expectations, regrets about not moving ahead in your career, perceptions of family raising in a society that has certain traditional ideas of parenting or family raising. It is an incredibly engrossing and like just this, in like the more as you go about, you feel this level of anxiety, this level of like, oh god, like how far are they going to question, and how are they going to contextualize or explain away this and that. And in all this, you just feel so like pressed by just how much the French court system in it trying to find accountability, find justice, just basically rips the humanity as much as they can from this woman. And the fact that this movie has a cover of a 50 Cent song, and it's in my top, and it's like it's in my top
Right,
five.
I'm back, guys.
Okay.
Speaks to the qualities, yeah.
The fact that not only do we have a cover of a 50 Cent song, but it's a pivotal plot point. Literally, the whole plot of the movie hinges on that piece of music.
Not only that it's a 50 Cent song, it's fucking In the Club.
All right. Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall, I think, is gonna age like fine wine, man. I feel like that movie, as people discover it, it's definitely one of the hidden gems of the year for sure.
Oh yeah, and France fucked up not submitting it for best foreign language film.
But I do think that there is like some ambiguity with it, because like part of the theme of the whole movie is the language barriers and stuff.
And also just the key point was I think the takeaway for me is that when you have to make a choice, or have to where you don't know, you have to decide. That is what belief is. It's just decide. And
Right.
That just speaks so much to sort of how we testify and recount what happened or why we think something happened. And that is just not only prescient in just the legal process, but just prescient in life overall. And that is just a great thematic note for this movie to end on.
All right, well, let's get to best villain, guys.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick, I thought the dog was the best actor in Anatomy of a Fall. And I don't mean that like unironically. I think that was the best trained dog I've ever seen in a movie. All right, best villain?
Yes, best villain. All right, we have one of my personal favorites, Dr. Volumina Gaul from The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Mm-hmm. We have the Spot from Across the Spider-Verse. We have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dante Reyes from Fast X. Hell yeah. We got the High Evolutionary from Guardians Volume 3. And we've got William the King Hale from Killers of the Flower Moon. So, yeah, I think this is like a fantastic like assortment of villains here. We have like kind of like an almost James Bondian, like evil professor kind of villain in Volumina Gaul. We have the Spot is very much kind of like a super villain origin story gone out of control. Dante Reyes is just like, he's just his own thing. He is just delightful on a whole other level. The High Evolutionary is perhaps one of the most outwardly evil for the sake of being evil villains the MCU's ever had. And William the King Hale is just real world evil on just the most guttural level. So I honestly think out of all the categories, this might be one of them where we really stacked it. I'm really proud of these 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for one of them, I mean, Jason Schwartzman, what a fucking year. Between his role in as the Spot, his role in Hunger Games, his role in Asteroid City, and there's another one. I don't remember which. Quiz Lady, where he played Ken Jennings. What a year. I just thought that was really cool. What a year for Viola Davis, too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
With Air and Songbird. And what not a year for Jason Momoa.
But in a very glorious crash and burn kind of way, though, right?
But I think
Jason Momoa was having fun making the movies he was making.
Yeah, they were bad movies. They were movies that shouldn't have come out.
Okay, but I have absolutely zero regrets putting Dante on this list.
Oh no,
though. I don't know about y'all.
He deserves to be on here. He was fun. He was the one redeeming part of the movie. But yeah, I mean, all good picks. I think William Hale being here, I think I was the one who fought for that one. Terrifying villain in the context, but had no chance with the audience that we're going for here.
Yeah. I mean, probably if we were just like ranking like objectively who is the most evil person, he would definitely be number one.
Yeah, because like a real person who does bad things is always going to beat out, Jason Momoa in the Fast and the Furious.
basically cosplaying as the Joker.
Right? That would be a role. That'd be a role I could see him in. It wouldn't be a good one, but I'd enjoy it.
All right, my man.
Oh my
god. I think we kind of know who the winner is, if I'm not being too presumptuous, but the fact that the High Evolutionary states outright, there's no God. That's why I stepped in.
Right.
With the full force of his chest, Chukwudi Iwuji just kills it as the probably one of, if not the most despicable, not villain, but just human being portrayed in a superhero film or even superhero project in a long while. The sheer casual cruelty that he has towards his subjects, the patronizing attitude he has towards Rocket in particular, and his overall implication of just being a tinkerer and destroyer of life to seek for a better and higher perfect being, I think is a level of villainy that is not paralleled by any other, at least in fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I think as a big Star Wars fan, I don't think the Star Wars community gives the fact that the Death Star destroyed an entire planet, I don't think people think that's as terrifying as it is.
Right.
Like that's.
I mean, imagine if Earth was one of those planets, bro.
Right? Or even like Mars, right? Seeing a planet get destroyed, and that's like a buildup in that movie. The High Evolutionary just like does it. He's just like, yeah, all right, time to move, and then just blows up a planet full of life. Like, to me, I don't think planet destruction, it gets kind of overused in sci-fi to the point that I don't think people realize how fucking terrifying that is, and how evil a person you have to be to actually do that. And hot take here, I think High Evolutionary was a better villain than Thanos. I think Thanos I agree. He was probably a better, well-rounded character for Thanos, but
I think Thanos was awesome for sure, but I think High Evolutionary, just as far as just being sheer evil and hateable. I mean, they like the thing with Thanos is that he's almost kind of like the inverse of a character like High Evolutionary, where they literally made a whole Avengers movie in which Thanos is more or less the protagonist.
Right.
So High Evolutionary, you are not getting that. You are getting like, this is one bad motherfucker from the word go.
Yeah. Considering that his actions caused Rocket to have the most guttural scream that is ever heard in a mainstream blockbuster film, that's a level of villainy that is unrivaled by a lot of fucking
right. So guys, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The golden Tiki in this case does in fact go to the High Evolutionary.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have personally loved to see Dante Reyes take this. Dante Reyes is my boy, but actually I remember quite vividly the runner-up here was actually Valentina Gold, which I thought was an interesting kind of dark horse in her own right.
Yeah, and I mean, she probably would have been my second pick, honestly, for like favorite villain in here.
I think the fact that the best villain went to an actor who wasn't really known at the time, be it besides Peacemaker beforehand, and made such a great impression upon mainstream audiences as the High Evolutionary. All our flowers go to Chukwudi Iwuji for making that character as memorable and detestable as he is in the movie.
And my flowers go to you for getting that name right, sir.
And my flowers go to William Hale, who who got screwed over here, but that's okay. Not the real one, though. Fuck him.
All right, moving on. We've got a couple minor technical awards to go over. I just threw these in because I really like them from a craftsman point of view. We have Best Production Design, which honestly, at the Oscars, it is always one that I look out for because I feel like it's one of the few awards that kind of any movie could win.
Yeah.
And I also think it's one of the few awards with the Oscars where they actually do go out of their way to acknowledge like creativity and not just like the message of the movie.
Or like, oh, this is like the showiness of art.
Right. So I am okay. I got it. Okay, best production design. We have Barbie, Asteroid City, Poor Things, The Color Purple, and Saltburn. So once again, I think these five are just rock solid. Oppenheimer almost got in; it was very close to getting in. I decided to swap it out with The Color Purple at the last minute. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Poor Things is a really big standout this year. Barbie is probably a front runner to win the actual Oscar. Asteroid City got fucking robbed. I knew that Asteroid City wasn't gonna take home a bunch of nominations, but my God, if it deserved any nomination, it's this one. Mm-hmm. So those three right there, plus Saltburn just captured that kind of like mid 2000s elite kind of like culture, just spot on. Like I said, The Color Purple did really mesmerize me as well with that sort of like throwback architecture and just the color palette there. So I think all five of these movies really did knock it out of the park.
Yeah. I couldn't think of any that we screwed over for our purposes here.
I think for all these nominees, what they do what is a good job for all, at least I can speak to only 4 out of the 5. I haven't seen The Color Purple, but for the other movies, their production design is in itself a character in the film. For Barbie, especially Barbie Land being structured the way it is, and actually following the physics of the dolls, with the fact that when Margot Robbie gets under the shower curtain, there's no water at all. There's no water in the glass. It's just kind of just pantomiming that. But the whole plastic feeling of it really adds to sort of the environment and to the fantasy aspect of Barbie, which I think makes it one of the most golden star levels, golden star qualities of that film. For Saltburn, I think in regards to the 2000 quality, that's apparent. But I think just the mansion, the feeling of being extremely small and isolated in such a vast space.
I say 2000 specifically because like that movie just really radiates that kind of like 2000s view of what wealth looks like through the lens of like Cribs and Pimp My Ride and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. No. And I think to that effect, it's like the sort of like grandiloquence of the home, and like the just sort of especially the parties that go on the home, the way that the house is laid out, like you have a sense of how enveloping this level of wealth and this level of decadence, and how someone like Barry Keoghan's character would be intoxicated in this kind of environment. And I think that's a success in the movie itself. For Poor Things, I think the production design is very subtle because it's very rarely do you recognize sort of how the design of the home that Belle lives in or on the cruise. But when you think about sort of how the actors are performing and the environment that surrounds them, it really sells sort of this very heightened, absurd kind of like caricatured world that, it seems that it's less from it's less from a neutral or objective perspective. It's more like a perspective from, say, Bella. That's kind of, as she's maturing, as she's developing as a character, her sense of the world, like that's gets distorted, is made more and more clear and crystal. And I think the fact when we get to the end of the movie, like the production design is not as visually vibrant or as contorted or like bizarre as the earlier parts of the movie, but I think the way the production design goes from beginning to end, it's always reflective of the eternal world of Bella. And as we're getting to know more of her maturation, her growth, her learning, the world just gets more and more adapted to her sense of perception. I think that's just really solid production design. Not just, oh, this makes the world look cool and interesting. It's like this world, the way that it's constructed, fits with the worldview that's constantly shifting from our main protagonist or character.
Yeah, honestly, I've never really heard Poor Things, the production design, put exactly like that, but I can't deny it. That is a really good way to look at it for sure. Okay, but in this situation, I think it's not a surprise to say that the Golden Tiki does in fact go to Barbie. And I believe, correct me, no, I'm just Ken also won. I was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first award that Barbie won. But no, I'm just Ken also won. But B, I definitely think that it deserves it in this case because, I mean, say what you will, like, I would have personally given it to Asteroid City over Barbie. But I think Barbie just did knock it out of the park. Like, I think the production design ultimately is going to be probably the thing that really stands the test of time with the movie when, you know, all the political stuff in the movie and all the humor and the Gen Z jokes and everything, when all that kind of starts to age, I think you could still look at the production design, look at the design of Barbie Land itself and how creative it is, and that's still what you're going to hang the movie on. So I think it's a well-deserved win.
Yeah.
All right. Tiki, do you want to ask about our number 4s?
You read my mind, PerGron.
It's me, Rohith.
That was Rohith.
Oh my God, you guys have similar voices. I've brought this up before.
Okay.
This is an ongoing issue. So, okay, you know what? Just for that, PerGron, what's your number 4? Rohit, I'm going to make you wait.
Ooh.
All
right. Well, mine's about to get me yelled at by Tiki because technically it came out in 2022. But whatever.
Okay.
My number 4 is a little indie horror movie called Skinamarink.
No, I'll allow that one. Because, yeah, technically it did come out in a couple film festivals, but really, who's keeping track?
Yeah, I mean, Tiki, I know you and I did a couple podcasts.
Oh, I love, dude, Skinamarink is a movie that, like, every time I see it, I appreciate it more.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it then. I love it now. It's not a movie at all that I would recommend to most people. If people ask me, should you watch Skinamarink, I usually tell them no. Just because of how specific an audience that it requires. Like my sister, she's getting into horror, and she'll ask recommendations. She'll be like, "Hey, should I watch The Shining?"
Skinamarink is like that's like when you're going for like the master's level thesis with horror. It is not entry level whatsoever.
Yeah, she texted me a couple of weeks ago. She's like, "I'm back at school. Should I watch Talk to Me?" I'm like, "Absolutely, you should watch Talk to Me." She's like, "Should I watch Evil Dead Rise?" I'm like, "Duh." And then she goes, "Should I watch Skinamarink?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "I thought you loved Skinamarink." I'm like, "I do, but you will not like Skinamarink." It's a movie that it stuck with me. I saw it in January of 2023, and
it's January,
and it stayed in my top 5 throughout the entire time. Like it's a movie that for me hit in all the ways that it needed to. It was terrifying. It was one of the scariest theater experiences I've had. The atmosphere worked for me. All of it worked for me in the terms of like the liminal space sort of stuff. It really was just one of those movies that I think will be a movie that I own it on Blu-ray. I will continue.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I'm going to say it's basically the new Blair Witch Project.
I hope so.
It's going to be one of those movies that people just freaking study.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think it should. But yeah, Skinamarink is my number 4.
All right, Rohit, I'm going to be nice. What's your number 4?
Well, I was going to say Lady Ballers. No, I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, my number 4 film of the year is Bottoms, directed by Emma.
Oh, nice.
Yes. For those of you not in the know, Bottoms stars Ayo Idibiri, like now one of the more popular actresses out there.
I just got caught up on the bear, so yeah, I'm all in on her now.
Yes,
As if I wasn't after Bottoms.
yes. And it stars Ayu Debiri and Rachel Sennott. Rachel Sennott was in Emma Seligman's first film, Shiva Baby, which is such an anxiety.
It's anxiety in the form of a movie. Holy shit.
Yeah. But to speak on Bottoms, the whole premise of the movie, it's these two are playing lesbians in a small town in America, and they are interested in getting their first kisses from the popular cheerleaders of the school. And so their whole idea of getting that kind of, response and maybe something a little bit more, it's an R-rated film, let your imagination run wild. Their idea is to start a self-defense club for women, and in the process of getting physical and fighting, they get to hook up with the hot women. And the sheer laugh a minute in this movie is impeccable.
Totally.
Deshaun Watson just kills it as the supervising teacher. The film's out bonkers level satire of American high school teen culture, especially with the way the football team is characterized, with the sort of jokes that are made.
Just the fact that the school itself is like almost like a character in its own right with how heightened it is.
Oh, yes. And I think that the fact certain lines that are iconic in my head, it's like you're not a feminist. You like your favorite show is Entourage, and it's just like sheer nuggets of gold. And
the line that will never leave my head is and he's fucking the evangelist, man.
Like, the chemistry between Ida Berry and Rich Snod is infectious. All the side characters are just well casted and well performed their little parts. And the way that the movie culminates in the third act with the whole self-defense club taking up arms against a rival football team, it's madcap, it's zany,
I literally want to watch it again right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's for those of you that are wanting to see what's the best comedy of last year.
Absolutely.
Bottoms. And I would encourage you all to follow the careers of Emma Seligman, the director, Ayu Edebiri, and Rachel Sennott. Those three have promising futures ahead in Hollywood and beyond.
All right. Well said. Okay, let's see. Dragon's here. He says, well, he was calling me out for being petty, so I corrected that.
And Diaz is like ratting me out.
Right. Kogias is just in it for the drama, man. We love him for it. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the next category, which is Best Visual Effects, the last of the minor technical awards. All right, but this isn't so minor, is it? Because visual effects are a big part of movies, and of course, this year we've had a lot of drama going down around the visual effects industry. Maybe these people are not being given enough time to actually do their job properly. We need to protect our visual effects artists. So with that in mind, the nominees for Best Visual Effects are Oppenheimer, The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and When Evil Lurks. All right, so what I really like about this batch of nominees is I feel like it kind of is like all throughout it kind of covers the whole gambit of budgets and styles and genres, but I feel like they're all kind of like equally impressive. I think, honestly, When Evil Lurks, I think does kind of stand out a little bit here, where it's a great movie, but I feel like that was us kind of like trying to be a little bit hipster, and it's like, yeah, we really don't want to nominate, something like a Warner, a DC movie or something. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna stand on business here and say that best visual effects in the year was When Evil Lurks, in my opinion. There's a scene where there's a goat. I think it's a goat or a sheep. They get shot, and I straight up thought it was a goat. Like I'm like the visual effects, it looked like a real goat. Like I'm like they just killed a goat on my TV screen right here. The visual effects were phenomenal and for the budget. But another one that maybe not slept on, but got slept on in this poll was Godzilla. I mean, that was a
I was
freaking amazing.
surprised that Godzilla got slept on at this poll,
Yeah,
honestly.
like it was. I don't think it was even top three, was it?
I don't
It
think so.
no, it might have been number three.
Uh
It might have beat the creator, which was fine.
huh.
But like Godzilla, those effects for him, I love the mix of just dude in suit and also CGI. I thought that was great. Um, and for the budget that they had, I mean, Godzilla -1 was a phenomenal one. When Evil Lurks was a phenomenal one. I would have picked either of those two personally, and I'm gonna say it. I think Oppenheimer's a cop out here because there was no CGI in it, and at this point, that's kind of what visual effects. The movies that use a lot of CGI, this is the one
Okay, yeah, but
category
was
they
there
can
a
get
really
into.
impressive practical effect? The dude literally simulated an atomic bomb on film. I don't know. I don't
Next time
understand that
use a real
argument.
atomic bomb. I don't know. Next time get a better one.
Okay, you know what? I just to spite you, the golden tiki does go to Oppenheimer, and I do kind of stand by this one. I really do because what I really think is so impressive about Oppenheimer is that honestly, like the entire brand of Oppenheimer, like the entire marketing, hinged on this one moment of the bomb going off, and it is a spectacular moment. The moment is built up throughout the whole movie. There's so much palatable tension, but then when you see it and just the sheer scale of it, how far away it is, the sound design incorporated into it, I just feel like it is one of those moments that just like no matter what, it's pretty much factory guaranteed to take your breath away, and it's like for me, it's pure movie magic. It is Nolan basically at the height of his craft. Like, I don't think the entire script of Oppenheimer is Nolan at the top of his craft, but I certainly think that this sequence and the technical prowess that went into pulling the sequence off is one of the most impressive things that Nolan has ever done.
Yeah, and I think it's valid to pick that one, the bomb, but I don't know. It's the one moment of visual effects, and I think the other movies, personally, just had more of them. They had it more of a prominent thing, and like picking the one bomb scene that goes for like 3 seconds over everything that went into Godzilla or into Guardians or into When Evil Lurks. I don't know. I just felt it was a cop out, but I won't argue that the bomb was bad.
I'm gonna stand on business and I'm gonna say my piece. I really feel like the creator had the best visual effects,
Oh man.
and I am going to stand on this hill and die on it because the for what the budget was and for what the level of intricacy there is for the robots, for the integration of organic and and techno organic parts for sort of the like cyborgs or androids and whatnot, and the spaceship that's hovering above. The script is not the greatest part of the film. I can concede on that. But in terms of sort of the fidelity and ability to feel that these parts that are just visualized in like a digital format, the fact that they have a level of weight, a level of texture, and it's all of that for 15 million. I think Gareth Edwards, being someone with a VFX background, he was probably one of the few directors that able to do that on such a budget. But I think his entire process, the way he went about shooting the film all in one go, and being able to apply VFX works and have sort of this interesting sci-fi world where you have sort of the robots come in and have a lot of personality, have a lot of movement, and the sheer sort of apocalyptic like eye in the sky with the space station that's able to emit this powerful beam, and all of this is kind of this very like Vietnam War s setting in Southeast Asia. I think for what the film's implications are in terms of how other VFX artists can take away and be inspired and be able to be innovative and creative on such a limited budget, I think that's of merit in it itself. Godzilla minus one is great, but I think with what's been reported about the conditions of Godzilla minus one, I feel like for the creator, what what it was able to do in the right circumstances, I think should be an achievement that recognized, whether formally through an award or just by other VFX artists in the industry.
All right. I mean, well said for sure. I just think
Yeah.
the creator was definitely fighting an uphill battle just as far as, it's not really a blockbuster. It's not a name brand. And especially in a visual effects category, that's going to be it's kind of the same thing that When Evil Lurks faced as well. So,
Yeah. Well, this round, if anything, shows you that we didn't rig this competition.
yeah, it's really interesting how all three of us kind of like, honestly, for me, I probably would have picked Guardians, to tell you the truth, because I do think that visually Guardians is at the top of the MCU game as far as the color palette, the mix of practical effects and CGI. I think Guardians really did come together really well. So
I mean, the way that all the different animal subjects have a level
Right.
of emotional expressiveness without kind of going to the uncanny valley feeling, which is the trouble that a lot of films that have like anthropomorphized characters deal with, is really an achievement.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to report to you all. I don't know if you are aware of this. Most of the VFX team for Guardians 3 will be on Superman Legacy. So if the effects for that movie is on par of Guardians 3, I'm excited for 2025 for Superman.
Nice. Okay, you know what? PerGron, what's your number 3?
All right, my number 3 is the other horror movie I keep talking about. We got Talk to Me.
Ooh.
I'm a lover of a good horror movie. I'm a lover of a good A24 horror movie, especially. And even though A24 didn't like produce or make this, they distributed it, so I'm counting it. This movie had me gripped the entire time. I mean, from the moment that it started with the guy going crazy and stabbing his brother and then himself, like I was in. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. The scene just like the movie just makes scenes over and over where you're having so much fun and it immediately just turns sour. Like the party scene with the music that got TikTok trending for a while. And it's just they're having fun. She's singing in French, like it's a blast. And then it immediately turns, and you get some of the most visceral, gory moments in a horror movie all year. The character work is emotional. The ending is phenomenal. I don't think there's flaws about it. It's a movie, but for me, this movie was as close to perfect as a horror movie could possibly be. And I absolutely adored it. And I also own this one on Blu-ray.
Okay, well said. Rohit, we will get to you soon. Let's go to best screenplay, which we just decided to combine. This could be original, it could be adapted. No rules here, folks. All right. Yeah, we're free rolling here. All right, so best screenplay, we have The Holdovers, Asteroid City, Past Lives, May December, and Bottoms. Oh my God, they didn't nominate Barbie. They're holding up the patriarchy.
We are. That was the goal, actually.
That was entirely the goal. Yeah,
we
thanks for
said,
noticing.
let's hold up that patriarchy.
I'm glad that our hard work is actually being appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
For the record, I like to establish that this is satire, but for those that don't get satire, I'm not.
No, we hate the
once
patriarchy.
again, I feel like this is a very eclectic little mix of movies here. We have, honestly, May December might be my pick, honestly. Like, I think the screenplay for that movie just absolutely sings. We have The Holdovers that has some of the best character work and dialogue of the year. We have Asteroid City that did a really cool kind of kind of like play within a movie, within a TV show sort of format that was really interesting to see them play around with. I think Past Lives is really impressive, especially for a debut filmmaker. And then we have Bottoms, which I will admit Bottoms is a little bit of an outlier just because a lot of that movie was improvised. But man, as we kind of already discussed with Bottoms, we have just so much of that movie. Just there's so many setups and payoffs in that movie that I can't imagine there wasn't a good script to go along with a lot of the improv. All right, what do you guys think?
I think that all of these movies deserved to be on here, and I think I want to reserve some of my comments on it for later. But if you can't tell which one specifically, you haven't been in the comments of any of their videos where I'm present enough. um, but yeah, I mean, Asteroid City, very good screenplay. I loved what they did with it. I fought for Past Lives here. I thought Past Lives was really, really solid.
I think that was a worthy nomination. I'm glad we put that on there
Yeah.
for sure.
Amen.
May December as well, very good. I'm not the Bottoms fan that both of you are. I probably wouldn't have had it, but I can appreciate that it's here. It made my top 50, so I appreciate it. Yeah, and then the holdovers,
What I appreciate for each of these nominees, as Tiki mentions about the eclectic group, is that there's really a lot of good lessons to learn from a screenwriting perspective. For the holdovers, you have a really good sense of establishing atmosphere and themes through character growth, especially with Paul Giamatti's character and Dominic Sessa's character and their relationship with one another is such a great example of how you can have so much uh, emphasis about integrity and having a sense of purpose in a world that will just like to, throw you away or ostracize you. And the humanity that's evident in the writings of both Paul Giamatti's character, Dominic Sessa's character, and Randolph's character, all of these, the main trio, their sense of being, their sense of just holding on to what they feel is most important to them is so well done. And as a screenwriter, and for anyone that's interested in screenwriting, you can really learn how you can enforce your theme without just having your characters come out and say what they're feeling or this is what they think the message of the movie. The message is said through dialogue, through action, and consequences. And this movie does a great job of doing that. For Past Lives, it is a movie that is the written word is less of character says this, character says that. It's all in. Here's a shot that establishes a sense of lost connection, a sense of trying to feel a semblance of love or whatever is a idea of love through a computer screen. Or this is establishing how do you convey a feeling of being together, but not together in a way that can be really fully realized because so much has happened in your lives. And I think in terms of screenline lessons, that is a movie where you can learn a lot about how to set up scenes, how to have character emotions be fully expressed without having them say a word on the screen. Really, you can do a good job in telling your actors how to convey their body language, how their position is seen, and all that's done on the screenplay level. As for Asteroid City, Wes Anderson, I think what people will have a caricature of Wes Anderson as a filmmaker is that it's all a bunch of white people who are disaffected in like a very pristine environment. The thing is that Wes Anderson's performances and Wes Anderson's stories are about characters that are so deeply wounded, deeply affected by what they go through. And in the course of the story, the layers that they have just slowly unravel to where you have the benefit, the privilege of getting a little bit of humanity. So what one learns from Wes Anderson as a screenwriter and how he writes stories is that you can have characters have certain limitations and boundaries that maybe put themselves at a distance with an audience. But it's your job as a screenwriter to have that audience go through that journey and be able to see bits and pieces of your characters and have that journey reflect something about those characters in terms of their identity, in terms of the relation to the theme, and just the overall impact on the story as a whole. So, for when you see these films being nominated, and especially with Bottoms had such a great Bandcamp. I don't want to emphasize too much of it. So these films that we're talking about, these are films that the writing is instructive of how to tell a good story, and the stories in and of themselves are really noteworthy stories that speak to something that is very human and very universal in all of us. So I'm glad that these 5 movies were nominated in this category.
All right. Well said, Rohit. Well said. And the Golden Tiki goes to The Holdovers. Oh, yeah.
Woo.
All right.
I was personally for Past Lives, but that is a movie that just works on a streamlining level. So it is a worthy of its win.
Yeah, I think that was a very worthy one. All right. So, Rohit, you're number 3.
All right. My number 3, it was a film that was mentioned, not in this category, but in a prior category. Godzilla -1 is my number 3 film of the year. I think for what this movie is, it is taking the typical mechanics of a Godzilla movie and putting them in a setting that is very unique to most Godzilla films. That being essentially post-war Japan, specifically post-World War II. And the fact that this movie is structured as basically Jaws meets Godzilla meets The Remains of the Day or The Deer Hunter or any really noteworthy post-war drama of disaffected and maladjusted veterans. The character work that's done with our main protagonist in him having to go through his trauma on his own, through his family, and through his crewmates on the ship as he's trying to defeat Godzilla. This isn't an action movie. This is a thriller. This is a movie about just regular human beings trying to just survive and through their wits and through ingenuity defeat the monster. It is a refutation to the ideas that permeated Japanese society in World War II, and which our characters are now dealing with in their internal lives and externally with Godzilla. The way that the movie is charged through with the performances that are deeply human, that are deeply relatable, even though I'm watching this film with subtitles, I feel a connection with just the sheer expressiveness, the sheer tremble in the dialogue that's rendered, even instead of a different foreign language. The tension as our characters are able to hack this really smart plan of getting Godzilla down and up and utilizing basic laws of physics and just scientific principles to defeat Godzilla. And the sheer act of making you believe that our main character is making this sort of interesting action, but zagging the other way, but still have it be reinforcing the central notion about wanting to have a life, not having to be fixated on the act of fighting, of aggression, but simply living in one's own space with people who love each other, and to have that all in a Godzilla film where Godzilla is menacing, is towering, and does not seem incongruent with the human drama element of it. That is an achievement that should be observed, should be studied, so that for people who make films in big IP franchises or genre films altogether, recognize that it's not about the scale of action, it's not about the number of explosions, the sheer spectacle of it. that always has to be grounded in human characters going through something monumental and personal. If you don't have that, you're just seeing pixel on the screen. Godzilla minus one focuses on humanity and humanity throughout this like basically like monster drama or creature drama with Godzilla. And that is amazing. And this should be a movie that more people should watch when it comes out on digital streaming.
All right, well said, Rohit. Well said. Have either of you gotten a chance to see Minus Color yet?
I got a chance to watch it. It was pretty fucking good.
You lucky bitch.
It just hit 100 million worldwide. I think this weekend,
That's crazy.
making it the third highest grossing, not adjusted for inflation, but the third highest grossing international film. So film not from the U.S. or Canada in the world, which I think is pretty cool.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for sticking with us so far. We are on the top of the line categories, the big dogs. So let's get right into it. Best Director. We actually nominated Greta, guys. Don't worry about it.
Patriarchy.
Best Director, we have Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. We have Greta Gerwig for Barbie. See? We actually did it. We have Wes Anderson for Asteroid City. We have Takashi Yamazaki for Godzilla minus one. And Chris Nolan. That's right, Chris Nolan. We're on. I call him Chris.
Wow, I didn't know you guys were that close.
I don't know why I'm doing this bit.
The proper name
Oppenheimer.
is Crisscross Applesauce.
Nolan.
All right. So one thing I will say, I honestly looking at this lineup, like, oh my god, I'm literally going to become like the Twitter villain of the week when I say this.
Do it. I'm gonna live stream it. Hold on. I'm gonna get on Twitter. Here we go.
I think we should have taken off Greta and put in Hayao Miyazaki.
I think don't worry, I'll be a Twitter villain as well, Tiki. I would say personally, we should have taken off Christopher Nolan and put in the Justine Triet for Anatomy of Fall on there.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, honestly, Celine Song, too. Like, seriously, guys, this was a stacked category. This was hard to come up with just five. Seriously.
I think we should have taken off Chris Nolan and Greta Gerwig. And put in Reese Frake for Winnie the Pooh. and Jeremy Boring for Lady Ballers.
Oh, my God.
I think that would have been the crew.
Honestly, like, I even think a case could be made for James Gunn. I really do. Like, this was a stacked year for directors.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the five that we landed on?
I think they're safe. I think I'm kind of tired of talking about them just based on like these being, other than Yamazaki for Godzilla. I mean, these are the ones that like they're in all the awards. They're the ones that are getting talked about. And I can't say anything beyond what's already been said. They're all very good. They're all experts for a reason. They're all beloved for a reason. They all did very good movies. I think Greta Gerwig's snub in the Oscars maybe wasn't the worst thing in the world. Just because they got that screenwriting credit, and I do think the screenwriting was, I don't know, a little bit better than the direction. Beyond Barbie Land, I think going into the real world was kind of where the movie fell off for me. And that's, I don't know, the direction there became a car commercial as opposed to the toy commercial it was supposed to be. But yeah, I think they're all good. I think they all deserve to be here. And I don't really have any complaints. Yeah.
All right. Dragon's calling me out. Show some respect for Nolan. Tiki.
He is. They're best friends.
All right. Oh God, Dragon! Wow. Okay, Dragon is going to be our Twitter villain of the week. If Barbie wanted a nomination, she should have made a better third act.
Well, if Nolan wanted our respect, he should have cut out most of the security clearance stuff. But oh no, it's apparently Oppenheimer and Strauss, the movie.
No. It's Robert Downey Jr.'s character in the movie. We've established this.
Okay, we also have Juxtaposition 22. Welcome. They're saying, honestly, the writing on Barbie, I would compare to what was said earlier about the effects on Oppenheimer, nominated for a few moments of exceptional writing, but mostly just accessible. Yeah, I could see that. I think that's a good point. All right, let's see. We also have Ace in the comments. How you doing, man? He says, minus color was so good. But was it better than Harry's pie, Ace? Was it better than Harry's pie? All right. Okay, PerGron, why don't you go ahead and give us your runner-up?
All right. My runner-up, my number 2 favorite movie of the year, will shock absolutely nobody because it's The Holdovers.
Genuinely, I'm kind of shocked it's not your number 1. Honestly, that is the shock in that equation.
Yeah, that's valid. No, I love The Holdovers. It's a warm hug of a movie. As a New Englander myself,
I think it's my number 4.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's in your top 5, it's cool.
It's in my top 5. It's
in my top 10, personally. Holdovers is great. It's in my top 10, though.
And see, that's all valid because as long as it's up there, as long as it's, getting the love it deserves. No, I love The Holdovers. It is a masterpiece of a movie to me. It's a warm hug. It's the performances here are perfect. I love a smaller movie. I also just love Alexander Payne, barring downsizing from the equation.
Sideways 2024 anniversary, 20th anniversary. Looking forward to that.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, as a New Englander, this had all of the New England charm that I was looking for. I saw the trailer in front of, I believe, Gran Turismo when I saw that in theaters. A movie I was looking forward to. That should have been in the disappointing list. But no,
I like Gran Turismo.
It was fine. I was way more excited than I should have been for it.
Yeah, you were, because I went in with very tempered expectations and I ended up liking it. So there.
But I saw the trailer there and I was like, that movie's gonna be fucking boring, is what I said about The Holdover.
Oh God.
I walked into a matinee showing at like 1:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. It was me and 4 old couples who were like talking, like all the trailers. There was one for I think Drive Away Dolls, which is coming out soon, which is of course a lesbian movie. They were like, why do all the lesbians gotta be in the movie?
Just lesbians. Why do they exist? God damn it.
They used a different word, but I'm not going to use that. But they were just complaining. I'm like, oh, this is going to be the worst theater experience of my life.
Oh my God.
It's going to be horrible. I'm not even going to like the movie that much. I was going to see the Marvels after it, actually.
Oh no!
And I was like, that won't be good either, but that will at least be fun. And I walked away adoring The Holdovers. I have watched it now 14 times since it came out.
Holy shit, dude! I mean, respect, man, respect.
I am gunning for Paul Giamatti to win Best Actor, and I think he has a case. I think he has a chance in the Oscars. That is, and I think Oppenheimer's gonna take Best Picture in the Oscars. I think if there is a movie that's gonna give it a challenge, I think it's The Holdovers. I think it's a perfect movie.
All right, what mic drop? Okay. All right, we say that moving into the acting category. So let's get to Best Supporting Actress. By the way, just thinks what?
Do you want me to do my number 2 or wait until
Rohit? There's a method to this madness. You will wait your turn.
Now you have to do your number 1.
All right, so yeah, I'd just like to thank all the people that are watching along with us. Of course, this is kind of an experimental year. hopefully this is going to be an annual thing that just gets better and better as we go on and we kind of like iron out the kinks.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sorry, keep going.
kinks like that. Yes, thank you for pointing out a kink. All right.
I was just gonna say next time we're gonna have Joe Coy host.
No, please no. I feel like we're already better than the Golden Globes just on the basis of that. And okay, I'm not trying to be mean to you, man. If I'm trying to be mean to you, I'm sorry. Like, I hope you don't take it that way.
I've heard worse.
All right. Okay. Best Supporting Actress, we have Rosamund Pike from Saltburn, Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers, Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise, Viola Davis making the awards once again for Air, and then my personal favorite, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple. Hell of a performance. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think I appreciate that. That for this category we have sort of a good variety of performances that are doing different things, respectively. For Rosamund Pike's performance in Saltburn, I think she does a great job in portraying this sort of naive matriarch of the family, and the way that she just kind of is, as the movie goes along with all the tragedies that abound, she has this ability to portray this sense of hurt that's kind of, steeled by this like aristocratic, propriety that ultimately is to her undoing. And I think when she's at her best, especially when she's acting against Barry Keoghan, the chemistry and the dynamic is almost sexual, almost romantic, but there is this kind of feeling where she is a character that should have all this power and stature, but is slowly being eroded over time by Barry Keoghan's character. And the way that it's done through Rosamund Pike's performance, it's both sad and somewhat heartbreaking, especially when you see sort of the end of the movie. For Viola Davis's performance in Air, I think she does a great job of doing acting. There's often acting that isn't unfortunately appreciated by the Oscars, which is that she doesn't do showy acting. She doesn't scream at the louder from the top of her chest, or she doesn't have like full on tears. She has a level of portraying this real life figure, Michael Jordan's mother, and having her be in a lived reality where she is aware of sort of potential that her son has in the NBA, but the way she goes about comporting herself with Matt Damon's character and with sort of the business people in the shoe business, she has a way of being both a strong, caring, loving mother and a strong-willed business person, especially at the end of the movie when she's able to articulate and speak to what Michael Jordan's demands are and the implications that has on the rest of the sports world. And the ability to do that and have that level of authority without having to go like stomp her feet or just raise her voice, that kind of steely determination of character is such a great performance from Viola Davis, who is always a celebrated and well regarded actor. And I think with her experience, with her coming to this role and making it noteworthy because she has this kind of like self-actualized sense of self that's, not too overbearing, but not too subtle. It's the right amount that makes her character one of the better standouts in the film, with a lot of great other performances from actors. And for Divine Joy Randolph, she just has a ability to make you feel welcomed in. Her warmth, her energy, her ability to just be a caretaker and be the one who's the most in need of care. I think to the scene where she's just kind of, being saddened as she's really drunk, and especially feeling with her male friend, the janitor, and the ability to feel, overwhelmed and just drowning with sort of the loss of her son in Vietnam, it's also engrossing, humane, and I think for how an actor is able to go through all that without being like overly saccharine, overly maudlin, but just be utterly authentic and realistic and come away with having the most attention and love from the audience. That is an achievement, and that is an accomplishment that can never be taken away by anyone. And I hope Divine Joy Randolph gets the recognition she deserves at the Oscars and by audiences all around the world.
All right, Colby, anything to add to that?
I like them all. Yeah, I think Alyssa Sutherland. I fought for her in here because she was just having a fucking blast in that movie.
I think she was a good inclusion. The only thing is, I kind of feel like her character like hovers in between being a supporting and a lead.
Yeah, but
but no, I mean, as far as horror movie performances go, like she's up there for sure from 2023.
Like, I love the Evil Dead movies. I think they consistently give us some of the best performances in horror comedies, especially. And I thought she was just a lot of fun. Rosamund Pike was great. I've loved Rosamund Pike since Gone Girl. Viola Davis was very good. Danielle Brooks, I think, would be my number 2. But I mean, after what I just said about the holdovers, it's Divine Joy Randolph.
And yes, indeed. Not going to drop the suspense here. The Golden Tiki does, in fact, go to the very presumptuously named, according to Dragon, Divine Joy Randolph. Look, I feel like this is kind of like the biggest runaway of the entire Oscar season. Like, if she doesn't win, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts if she doesn't win.
It's her and Downey Jr.
Right. I would even say Downey Jr. Like, he's pretty locked, but I wouldn't say he's like an absolute 100% sure thing the way Divine Joy Randolph is.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Rohit, why don't you go ahead? What's your runner-up?
Well, I was gonna say, just for shits and giggles, the trial coverage Jonathan Majors, but no, I'll to retain the spirit and propriety of this awards. My pick is also a small movie, an intimate movie, "Past Lives" by Celine's song. It is a quiet and introspective film that, in the way that it's made performances from Greta Lee, from the actor who plays the husband, and her former Korean love. All these characters have these moments of feeling, regret, of feeling for the longing. And I think with the way the story goes, like the main character being an immigrant that came to Canada first and that came to the U.S. and fell in love with her current husband, it all felt like someone that lived a life that had actual past connections and past loves, and always have the feelings that are resonant about, well, what if I stayed with the person I grew up with and fell in love with as a kid, and then when I see them again, are my feelings natural, or am I just having a sense of nostalgia for what was? And the way this movie goes about in having all these characters process their emotions, their sense of self and relationship to one another without villainizing anyone, and being aware of sort of the racial implications come with that, especially with Greta Lee's character's husband being aware of the trope of the white husband being aware of the force.
That guy was like the most sympathetic character in the whole movie.
Yeah. And the way the movie ends, you still feel for all three, and only hope that for what they're going through in life, and feeling and wanting to feel connected, wanting to feel loved, that they find it, if not in this life, then in another life. But all that we have is just past lives.
All right, well said, Rohit. Well said. Okay.
I like how so far our top 5 have all been different.
Mm-hmm.
And just to for prosperity's sake, I'll kind of like throw a wrench into that, because I don't think I think literally all three of my. Let's see, so you guys have okay. So my number 5 would be Godzilla -1. My number 4 would be Bottoms. My number 3 would be The Holdovers. And my number 2 would be Asteroid City. So outside of Asteroid City, 3 out of 4, not bad.
Well represented.
All right. Okay, so supporting actor, guys. This is where we get into the real big guns. And I got to tell you guys, this was one of the categories that was the hardest to nail down to 5.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We fought about this one.
Yeah, we did. We really did. So,
and we had a pretty big snub. We had a huge snub.
All right, so supporting actor, we have Archie Madekwe. Yeah, Madekwe from Saltburn. We have Coleman Domingo from The Color Purple. Mark Ruffalo from Poor Things. Dominic Sessa from The Holdovers. And Ryan Gosling, of course, from Barbie. What do you think was the big snub?
I mean, it's Robert Downey Jr.
I mean,
yeah, no, that is, yeah, you're right. That was, I mean, I don't know, man.
I fought for him. I'm gonna just make this public. I fought for him. I was outvoted. So
I will say,
Twitter.
I will say this. I think the child actor who played the blind son in Anatomy of Fall should be there in retrospect. I watched the movie earlier, and of the 5, I probably would have taken out Archie Maduke from Saltburn and put him in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Archie was kind of the wild card, honestly. Yeah. I really do like his performance. I think he adds a lot to that movie, a lot more than people are really zeroing in on right now.
Oh, I think did anyone advocate for either Leo or Robert De Niro from Killers of the Flower Moon for this category?
I don't think so. Killers of the Flower Moon got pretty snubbed all around just because I feel like all of us are kind of in that mindset where it's we respect Killers of the Flower Moon, we like it, but we don't necessarily love it, and pacing-wise, it was a little off.
Yeah, it made my top 10 of the year, just out of, respect for it.
Right, yeah.
I did enjoy it. I kind of never want to watch it again, though. And I think if they were going to get an actor nomination, for me personally, it was going to go to De Niro. But
De Niro he was the one nomination, not in acting, but for villains. So
right. So I think that I was okay with that, and I think these picks were better. I mean, Mark Ruffalo fucking stole the show in Poor Things. I loved every moment with him in it. I've never seen Mark Ruffalo like that.
Oh yeah, totally. For me, I think the snub is actually John Magara from Past Lives. He was the one that I was heartbroken to have to take out.
Yeah, he was in there too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He actually got swapped out with Coleman Domingo.
Oh, yeah. Which I do think is a good choice because
I think Coleman Domingo was the whole thing with Coleman Domingo this Oscar race was that everyone was focused on Rustin, which is such an okay movie compared to The Color Purple.
Yeah.
And The Color Purple, man, his performance is I haven't even watched Rustin yet, but his performance in The Color Purple is just so dynamic.
I mean, his performance in Rustin was the best part of Rustin, but the movie wasn't going to get any other nominations anyway.
Right.
So the fact that it's
kind of like the Naiad ladies.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me No, but I much rather would have had Coleman Domingo show up for Color Purple. I mean, I think he was killer in there. You hated him, and you believed his redemption at the end.
All right, well.
Oh, and my boy Dominic Sessa, fucking for a first ever screen performance, absolutely brilliant.
In this category, honestly, as far as a lot of these awards, because they're public polls, they do kind of come down to popularity contests.
Uh-huh.
And we are going to give it to Ryan Gosling. Which I don't necessarily disagree with. I really don't, because here's the thing. My hype for Ryan Gosling has kind of gone down as the movies come out, but I still think it's an iconic performance. I still think it's one of those performances that's going to stand the test of time. It's like I look at it as like kind of like the type of perfect casting, perfect performance is like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark or Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. You know, like that level of like just lightning in a bottle perfection on screen as far as a casting goes.
Oh, for sure.
So I respect it.
No, I respect it. I just disagree with it.
I think for the performance, what it is that it is the role of Ken that utilizes all of Ryan Gosling's really hidden talents of comedy. Oftentimes, when people talk about Ryan Gosling, he's a great dramatic actor with things like Blade Runner 2049, Drive, or The Places Where the Pines Fall. But really, he has such a great comedic talent and things like The Nice Guys. And I think for Ken, the fact that this is a largely comedic performance and it's getting this kind of awards attention speaks to the quality of his committing every atom of his being to every, affectation, every posture, every sort of, utterance, and just hanging on a certain syllable as he's playing this very hapless, like enamored in love for Barbie, and goes on this journey of self-actualization and to come over as being the standard character that can be analyzed on a writing level and performance level. I think it's something that is truly one of the highlights of film last year.
So, in other words, he is so much more than Kenoff. All right.
That's Kenoff, Tiki.
Okay, you know what, guys? We'll do PerGron's number one after Best Actor. We'll do Rohit, or after Best Actress. We'll do Rohit's number one after Best Actor, and then we'll go into Best Picture. That's how we'll do it. All right.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Okay, so let's move into Best Actress. Don't worry, she's there, guys. We're good. All right.
Yeah, we didn't.
Margot is there. You don't have to cancel us.
We didn't put in fucking Annette Bening for Naiad.
For Annette Bening that's listening to this, you're great in The Kids Are Alright. And
The Kids Are Alright is like the last great Annette Bening performance, I think.
And you're great in American Beauty. And Jodie Foster, if you're there as well, you're great in Silence of the Lambs and in the one Mauritanian movie.
All right.
Okay,
Best Actress.
Naiad.
Okay, Best Actress. We have Sophie Wilde from Talk to Me. Mm-hmm. We have, yes, she's there, guys, Margot Robbie for Barbie. Don't worry. We have Greta Lee for Past Lives. We have Emma Stone for Poor Things. And we have Ayo Edebiri for Bottoms. I really like the eclecticness of this. I like that we have a horror actress. We have a comedy actress, both women of color. I think that's cool. Greta Lee, I think, really stole the show. Ultimately, I can tell you guys, it was kind of a 3-horse race between people that you probably expected it to maybe come down to Emma Stone or Margot Robbie. But I will tell you, another third person who was kind of a wild card and was in the poll for quite a while was Sophie Wilde. And I do think that's very well deserved. And honestly, that's kind of part of my goal with the Golden Tikis is to acknowledge, like, have a lot of it be sort of Oscar-centric movies, but also acknowledge the stuff that the Oscars just won't acknowledge. Horror movies is sadly one of those things. What do you guys think about this lineup in general?
I will say this. Had I watched Anatomy of Fall by the time we were making these categories, I would have advocated for...
Sandra Hüller got snubbed. Yeah, I will totally agree there. No doubt.
But I don't know if I would... Who would I put instead? Just pick, like, if I put her for Sophie Wilde, for Talk to Me.
I know who I would take out, but I don't want to say it.
Oh, no, we should say it. Because we're going to do the Oscars thing.
And I'm going to switch. I would say very great community performance, but I don't think she's one of the top 5. I think Sandra Bullock.
And Iberi, I think that a case could be made for her because she's kind of in that sort of realm where I feel like she's a little bit more of a support. Like, they're both co-leads, right? So it's like I wasn't really sure how to categorize her character as lead or supporting.
Yeah, and like she's better in The Bear, so
she's wonderful in The Bear. Yeah,
she's great. And if y'all haven't seen this movie, Theater Camp is now on.
Oh,
streaming.
she was.
Oh, I forgot she was in that. Yeah.
Hot take. I like Theater Camp better than I liked Bottoms.
That's a little bit of a hot take. That's a little bit of a hot take.
Really
I'm not gonna lie. I like Theater Camp a lot, but
I like the Parks and Rec vibes that it had. It felt very Parks and Rec.
Fair enough. All right. So is that all you guys have to say?
I'll say this for Margot Robbie and for Emma Stone. For Margot Robbie as Barbie, I think for all sort of the discourse that people have of the film and her nomination, I want to say this is that Margot Robbie has the perfect elements to have made her performance as stereotypical Barbie work the way it does. She has great physicality. She has great sort of great cadence as like sort of a stereotypical all-American girl. 3, she has an ability to have a sense of naivete that is endearing to a certain degree without being grating. And for her arc throughout the film, the ability to go from this very like oblivious, doll-like figure to be a like kind of a Pinocchio story or a Pinocchio arc where she wants to be a real person. And the way she delivers the line is like, I want to be the people that get to imagine things. And her credence, her believability in that moment, and her emotional journey and going through sort of the highs and lows of feeling existential dread and guilt and angst and all that stuff, and come out being a full real woman. That I think you can never get any other actress to do that whole journey and have sort of the fun, juvenile, like absurdist elements of Barbie Land and be able to be in the real world and have that kind of culture shock. I don't think there's really few actresses that can convey that like dissonance as well as Margot Robbie did. So I think that is in of itself is a credit to her as a performer and her performance in the movie. As for Emma Stone, it's a different, 180 altogether beast of it all, where she has the ability to take. It is kind of weird. She's taking this like not doll, but very naive, oblivious like woman, and is kind of doing like a Frankenstein or like sort of the Flowers for Algernon, but not the full story, where she's getting a sense of maturity, she's getting a level of intelligence, a little wisdom and introspection about the gender politics, the norms, the way in which women are treated or objectified in the society that she lives in. And doing this sort of this heightened sci-fi environment where she's kind of cavorting and being a very carnal individual with the likes of Mark Ruffalo and with numerous males in her time as a prostitute in France. Like Emma Stone has the ability to make all of that seem coherent. It's not just, she's not just pantomiming or just like jumping around, being like an overgrown baby. She is developing and showing the process of a person gaining a sense of mind, gaining a sense of self, and having an intuitive understanding of what their place in the world and how they go about and making the world function for themselves. And the way the movie ends, the way the movie begins, that full journey shows a level of presence and it shows a level of command that very few actors are able to do, especially the age that Emma Stone is at in her career.
All right, well said. Well said. Juxtaposition is in the comments. They say, I'm cool if they pull Margot out if Ryan goes to pull the interesting alternatives and let the populars pull the 10th they're already going to get. So what I'm interpreting here is basically like, I think the discourse on the nomination should have been more like, I feel like the discourse kind of did a disservice to all the other interesting people that did get in or even didn't get in. So for example, I'm happy with Ryan Gosling getting in, but I would have been a lot happier if Charles Melton or Minton had got in.
Melton. Charles Melton.
I'm sorry. If Charles Melton had got in. Like, if Charles Melton would have gotten in, I would have been stoked. And I would have gladly traded Ryan Gosling for Charles Melton. So
I would have been great if an RDJ was not nominated and Dominic Sessa got nominated. And I know
Twitter villain.
Technically, it's X, so it's X, formerly known as Twitter villain. And I think for Dominic Sessa, I think just overall, I would hope for future discussions about actors and actresses that get stumped or not. I hope it is about, for what we talk about for certain actors to get nominated, I think we need to talk about what each actor is able to bring to the performance. And I think for the actresses that we've nominated in this category, we can, on an individual level, note what it is they're able to bring to that character and how what they bring to the character helps enhance or make the movie work the way it does. And I think that's very apparent for the nominees on the list.
All right. Well said. And on that note, like I said, it was back and forth. It did ultimately come down to Margot Robbie or Emma Stone. But ultimately, it went to Emma Stone. The Golden Tiki goes to Emma Stone for Best Actress. Yeah.
There we go.
A well-worthy win in my note.
Yeah. I feel like even people who don't really vibe with Poor Things as a movie, Dragon being among one of them, and I don't really blame him. He will be the first to tell you. I specifically told Dragon that Poor Things was not going to be his thing. He watched it anyways. It's not my fault, but I will say that even people that don't like Poor Things, they can probably acknowledge how impressive, just physically, if anything else, Emma Stone's performance really is in that movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so PerGron, what is your number one, and how is it not The Holdovers?
I know I've talked The Holdovers up so much that
you really have, sir.
And I did love it. I mean, any other year it would have been my number one. But this year happened to drop a movie that hit me so fucking hard in the soul that
Is it just an animal documentary?
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
Is it Old Dads?
Oh, God.
It is. It's Old Dad. No, I'm gonna keep the trend going with you and Dragon, and I'm gonna put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as my number one movie of the year.
Wow.
I love this movie.
Respect.
I loved it for different reasons than other people. I mean, I loved it for all the same reasons. But as someone who, in their professional life, my life is, as much as I love movies, my life is dedicated to animals. I take care of them in person. I have my own. I work with them. I teach about them. My job is caring for and educating the public about them. So seeing animals portrayed in this light was just fucking soul-wrenching. I can't even say that it hurt my heart. Like it went deeper than that. Rocket has always been my favorite Marvel character, beyond just being an animal character. But Rocket's always just been my favorite character in all of Marvel. The Guardians are my favorite group. I kind of wish that the Guardians weren't part of the MCU and were just their own franchise, so we could have gotten more of them in that time span. Everything about this movie, I might have watched The Holdovers around 14 times, 16 times. I've watched Guardians, I shit you not, 37 times since it came out.
37?
37 times since it
in a row?
Well, like over the time span that it's come out.
Okay, am I the old man in the group that I'm the only one who gets the 37 joke?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, I think we need to put you in the nursing home, Tiki.
Yeah, sorry, Tiki.
Oh my god, you people need to fucking watch Clerks. Culture yourselves right now, god damn it. I know Dragon understands the 37 reference.
I'm not a Kevin Smith guy, I'm sorry.
All right. Fair enough.
But no, I loved Guardians. It was the perfect ending to it, and it is my number one movie of the year.
Juxtaposition says, I thought I was obsessive watching it 3 times. I saw it 4 times in theaters and then twice at home so far, so I'm kind of in the middle between you two.
The middle skewing.
All right. Yes, Tiki, I understand that reference. Yay! All right. Okay, can you really say you love a movie if you haven't watched it 37 times?
Yes. Yes, you can.
No, you can't. I am the biggest fan in the world.
God,
Right.
I feel like for you guys to have watched a movie multiple times, I feel like you need to put yourself in that one image where there's the one fan that watched Captain Marvel like a billion times and like this his reaction face. You like PerGron, you need to have you and then either James Gunn or Chris Pratt have a reaction face to you saying that. Anyway.
Okay. Best actor, guys. Let's get down to it.
Yeah, let's
get down to business to defeat the people of. I'm not going to say the Huns because isn't that line technically kind of racist now? I don't know. Anyways,
hey, we're this warming Twitter villain, so let's just really ramp it down.
We love the patriarchy.
All right, best actor. We got Zac Efron from The Iron Claw, which I will say, this was the one nomination that was an executive decision from me. I did not run it by any of you fuckers. As soon as I saw The Iron Claw, I was like, he is in.
Well, if you remember correctly, I was vouching for it, so I agree with it.
Okay, cool.
I watched the film. I think Zac Efron was great. I think for me, the highlight in terms of acting performances is like Harris Dickinson, the actor who played the younger brother, who was a musician, and Hope McClaney is the father.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so Zac Efron, we got Paul Giamatti from The Holdovers. We got Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer. We got the little freak himself, Barry Keoghan from Saltburn. And I am totally going to butcher this guy's name, but he did a fantastic job. We have Kamiki Ryunosuke from Godzilla -1. I'm sure I butchered that.
Twitter, cancel him.
All right, so once again, I feel like we have a really good, we have, literally the men that are actually vying toe-to-toe for the actual award in Giamatti and Cillian Murphy. They're both up here, very appropriately. We have the man who was arguably maybe the most snubbed actor performance of the entire nomination circuit with Efron. And then we have Barry Keoghan, who was just an amazing role in his own right. It was not an Academy Award role, but I mean, it's for what it is shocking. It is super memorable. You're never going to forget it.
If he got in for Banshees of Inisherin, I think he could have gotten in.
I think that's a fair. I honestly think that's a fair argument. I really do. Do.
He's just a weird little creep, and I love him for it.
And then good old Mr. Godzilla here. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name again. But what I was really what I was really impressed by with his performance was I was really impressed by just how guttural and emotional he was. And I very much had an oh wow, is this I'm sure it's not I'm sure it's probably generalizing to say this is what all Japanese acting is like. But it's just a different side of acting that I wasn't even aware of. I mean, this dude just goes so hard in this movie with the grief, and it's just captivating to watch.
In a fucking Godzilla movie.
I know, right? Okay, so what do you guys think?
I mean, I think that at least the first three here would have been my top three if I were the Oscars. If I were Oscar himself and I were picking the list, I would have gone Efron, Giamatti, and Cillian Murphy. Those would have been my three, and then fill it out however else. I think all three of them are phenomenal picks by us. I think we're great that we didn't snub them. I think I love a weird little creep, so I'm cool with Barry Keoghan being there. I think the Oscars should add Best Weird Little Creep in and I think it should just be a reserved spot for Barry Keoghan every time. Even if he's not in a movie that year, you can just put Barry Keoghan.
Call it the Weinstein Award.
Oh my god, no. Oh god.
Um,
Although I will say that could be how Paul Dano finally wins an Oscar.
dude, Paul Dano versus Barry Keoghan versus, I don't know, throw in someone we hate. Throw
Caleb
in,
Andrew Jones.
yeah. And who's the guy that everybody hates in the world, but he keeps getting cast and shit? Jared Leto.
Gordon?
No, Jared Leto. Ew, no, fuck James Corden. He doesn't deserve anything. No, put Jared Leto in there. Just because I hate him so much, but I'd love to see a weird little creep roll with Jared Leto, Paul Dano, maybe keep in Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh god.
I think that's the category. There we go.
Dang.
Just all of those guys just in a quirky indie road trip dramedy.
Dude,
Directed by Wes Anderson.
Oh god.
With a cameo by Woody Allen.
Oh my god. just to put in the weird creep factor, I would maybe say Alexander Payne would be a better fit.
Let's call it weird little creeps.
No, directed by Ari Aster. That's
okay. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. I love you, Ari, but yes,
we got there.
Okay. All right. Wow. Would you guys like to know who won?
No.
Anyone have anything else to say?
No. I just don't really want to know who won.
All right. Well, let me tell you, this was actually my favorite win of the entire award circuit for the Golden Tikis. It was Cillian Murphy for a long time, which would have been a very obvious, a well-deserved but very obvious role to win. But then at the last minute, literally the last day, we had an underdog pull ahead. And I am very pleased to announce that the Golden Tiki for Best Actor goes to
Barry Keoghan.
Zac Efron.
No, this was a very well-deserved win.
I was freaking stoked to see him pull ahead of Cillian Murphy. Not, no disrespect to Cillian Murphy. Like, by all means, I'm absolutely rooting for Giamatti over him in the actual Oscars, but if Cillian Murphy wins, I feel like it's almost equally like a career achievement Oscar as it would be for Giamatti. Like, that dude has been around the character acting circuit forever. So, I am stoked for him. But Zac Efron, for me, just delivered an absolute powerhouse of a performance with the Iron Claw. I didn't even really fully love the movie overall, but I think his performance is just it elevates it. I think it elevates it more so than Coleman Domingo and Rustin, just because the Iron Claw does have good things going for it. Like you said, it does have other really good supporting performances. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's got a lot of grit to it.
There's
but
one
Zac
line in it
Efron
that
just absolutely carries it, though.
Yeah, I mean, Zac Efron's performance and his delivery of the line, "I used to be a brother," gave me a literal panic attack in the theater, and I had to walk out. It was so bad. I literally had a panic attack sitting there because of how hard that line hit me.
Oh god!
So I walked out of the theater.
The scene that will always stick with me for Zac Efron for the Iron Claw is when he has his two kids and so he goes, "Oh, Daddy, why are you sad?" It's like, "Oh, I used to have brothers and now they're gone." It's like, "We can be your brothers, Daddy," and that's just fucking fucking damn it! Oh man.
See, I also think this is a career achievement for the High School Musical Movies Award.
Oh God! All right. Well, this was. I think this was probably the most exciting award of the night. Best Picture, I think, went to a little bit of an unconventional movie. We'll get to that. Yeah. But before we get there, Rohit, what was your number one?
All right. With all my thoughts, with all my heart, with all my beliefs, in my view, my number one, my favorite film of 2023, in spite of the discourse, in spite of the hubbub and the Monday night quarterbacking all that, just on a pure cinematic level, Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, is my favorite film of last year.
Respect.
And I think for me, what makes it my favorite film is that it's not necessarily doesn't necessarily have the best. I think some parts of it is the best in their respective craft or respective element. But I think what makes Barbie work for me as a movie is that Greta Gerwig on the directing level, and then Greta Gerwig, Nolan Baumbach, at the screenwriting level, and the actors and production design. There are elements that just are congealed and coalesce into this really unique blend of a movie. You have a movie that delves into existentialism, feminism, into like corporate products mimicking or trying to evoke feelings of empowerment and how that's really complicated for women who buy these Barbie dolls, and to do that with a visual infectious energy, with musical numbers, with this kind of like you know pop high art mix, and sort of the culture clash that comes in with Barbie and Ken coming to the real world, and Ken having sort of this like reckoning and starting a revolution in Barbie Land, and all sort of the interplay, and with a very mainstream but really well done soundtrack. I think for me, it is a movie that takes sort of these subversive ideas, delivered in a really bombastic blockbuster feeling, with a setting as fantastical as Barbie Land. And the fact that it has like a 2001 Space Odyssey reference, and it's a $1 billion grossing movie, that's like fucking cool in a certain way. And I think for outside the discourse of the movie, and for people that may not love the movie, a few months or a few years down the line, I think is a movie that is respectable in terms of an artist being able to put their heart and soul into a project, and especially in a very broad and corporate IP like Barbie, and to do sort of interesting and subtle and emotionally evocative things, especially with the scene where Barbie is, closing her eyes and seeing all the images of women that, are experiencing, growing, and being themselves, with Billie Eilish's, what was that, Made For, playing in the background. Rhea Perlman being one of the highlights of the film. It is a film that I think for people, when they watch it after the fact, years down the line, it is a film that I think should inspire people to delve into the ideas that are present in the film. It should inspire studios to invest in auteur directors, especially auteur directors that are women, people of color, whatnot, to put an individualistic and idiosyncratic way of engaging with not just IP, but just with pre-established worlds and landscapes and whatnot. And I think for me, that is, I think, the importance, the takeaway from cinema of last year is like, it's not enough to just have something that you remember growing up. It's about taking what you've grown up with and having it grow up with you, and making you feel as it's speaking to you, not as your kid self, but as your adult self, and what that means moving forward.
All right. Well, very well said, Rohit. And I got to tell you, man, I'm pleasantly surprised by your pick because, I don't think Barbie was in my top 20, but it didn't really, I definitely had issues with the structure, but I really respect your vouching for it. Because I think it really goes to show just how diverse just the three of us and our very white male opinions are. So, really.
Well, I'm Indian, so
I'm sorry. I know. I did, literally, as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, "Fuck, that's not entirely accurate." My bad.
But see, ladies and gentlemen, we don't like the patriarchy.
All right. I feel like after this podcast, someone should just go and have a running tally of like who was the most cancelable.
I think LEB made a comment. There have been some insane jokes in the first annual Golden TV Awards.
Oh, and this is just number one.
All right.
Wait until 2030 when the White Noise the movie comes out, and we're all talking about how bad Paul Dano was in it.
Oh God! Oh no! Okay. All right. Juxtaposition says your ex villains. Elon made you sound dumb. I will never call Twitter X. I'm sorry. When I see X, I think of like it's a broken website. That's literally what I think of when I see X in as far as web design goes. So, let's see. Tiki, his family's watching this and you're dishonoring him. Not sure what that's. Oh, is that okay? Well, I'm sorry. LEB says there have been some insane jokes in the first annual Golden Tikis. Probably not as insane as the jokes in the first annual 420 awards. LEB says best and worst movie you could possibly make. Are you saying like we could possibly do like a worst movie category next year? We could, but I feel like disappointing is kind of more like, with disappointing, there's at least an element of the Godzilla guy. Yeah, okay, you're right about that, Dragon. I did butcher him.
I'm glad that according to LEB, I'm not a Twitter villain today.
Okay, let's see. Blue Dragon 5 says guys let the chubby Englishman sing. He's not hurting anyone. He's hurting his staff quite a lot.
Yeah, he's actively hurting waitresses at
Like,
restaurants.
I'm sorry, Dragon. That's just not a fair. That's not an accurate statement that you just made. I'm sorry.
He's actively hurting me just by existing.
Okay, Kogia says Ryan Gosling not winning is an outrage, but Ryan Gosling did win. He technically won 2 Golden Tikis.
No. I think if he doesn't win the Academy Award.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that.
He's
but
not going to win it.
Yeah. I think he's got about as much chance as Johnny Depp did when he was nominated for Jack Sparrow. So we'll see. Okay. Juxtaposition says, I love the soundtrack for Barbie. I never liked Billie Eilish, but what was I made for made me bawl. Such a good emotional buildup. Totally. Let's see. LEB says, yeah, Rohit is not the Twitter villain today. This will not be the last Golden Tikis, sir.
Yeah, this is a longevity thing. We're going to get Joe Coy next year.
Oh, God. Juxtaposition says patriarchy. When I realized it wasn't about horses, I kind of lost interest.
Best line in the movie.
Elon forgot to make a new name for it. That's literally what it feels like. It's like a placeholder. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it. Best Picture. Oh my God. It's literally, well, at least it's not 3 hours. We're not pushing 3. We're kind of pushing 3 hours, but we're not
trying to do a Scorsese, folks.
We're on par with all of the other award shows.
Yeah. Okay, so Best Picture, let's just run them by. They're pretty much the movies that have been nominated the most throughout the evening. Godzilla -1, Bottoms, Barbie. See? Barbie's there. Poor Things and The Holdovers.
With both of us picking Guardians 2, you would have thought we would have slipped it in there.
I'm kind of surprised we didn't, honestly. You know what, though? I kind of feel like with Guardians 2, I kind of feel like it would have been too easy of a choice for the audience.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was legitimately thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do y'all think?
About who is the winner?
No, about just the nominees. Do you have anything to say about this? I know we've gone over all these movies before, but just to give them one last due.
I think what I appreciate is that for all 5 movies, there are different tones, there are different genres, and I think for anyone that's ever voted for any one of these movies, I think, at least in my view, speaks to our audience. While maybe it's comic book movie dominated or genre dominated, there are some people in our audience that have made the effort to watch something like The Holdovers or Godzilla -1 or Past Lives and Bottoms. I think that speaks to how we as in our community, I think, and I hope this is a trend that continues, moving forward for the next few years and onward, that we make the opportunity to watch films that don't have the biggest market budget, don't have the biggest stars, but just have quality storytelling made by quality storytellers and creatives. Support those movies, and that's where Hollywood will invest the resources. Remember that, folks.
Yeah, if you believe in yourself, next year Snoop Dogg's The Underdogs will get into Best Picture.
God. All right.
Yeah.
With that said, I will say that this actually ended up being one of the closest votes.
Mhm.
And, like, I will say Poor Things fell out of it pretty quickly. I will say that Barbie actually did fall out of it pretty quickly as well, which means that, oddly enough, the top three were Godzilla -1, The Holdovers. Those two aren't surprising, but it was really surprising to see Bottoms. Bottoms nearly took this, guys. Bottoms was a couple votes away from taking this. That would have been crazy, even as someone who loves Bottoms as much as I do. But alas, I do think the right film prevailed here. I think this movie winning Best Picture in this particular award show is very appropriate. We have Godzilla -1 as the Best Picture of 2023.
So now it's Godzilla +1.
Oh, yeah, I think this is a very appropriate award for this to win. It didn't really win a lot, but it won when it counted, and I think that's a really funny kind of almost poetic fate for Godzilla -1.
I think what is great about Godzilla -1 getting the win is that it speaks to how, for a foreign film in a long-running franchise that has an American counterpart that's had movies that come out since 2014, the fact that this movie, here's a fun fact: I watched this movie on my birthday with my two close friends. It's probably one of my favorite birthdays in my life. Getting to see this film that I didn't see much of the marketing for, and didn't see like what this film means. Like when people talk about Godzilla, the franchise, talk about how the human characters are the least exciting, and the fun movies are the movies where Godzilla is just fighting with other monsters. This is a human drama. This is Jaws, with Godzilla in it, and I am just greatly appreciative of how much people are seeing this movie or watch this movie, appreciating black and white. I hope, for the directors and for the actors, they get more roles and more recognition, not only in Japan, but in the wider international film community as a whole.
Great. PerGron?
I ain't saying nothing as poetic as that, so.
That's very fair. Okay.
What I do want to say, though, is I want to see the Code Geass Anime Fan Awards. I want to see that. I want to see whatever is going on over there, because it would be a wild ride.
I mean, honestly, next year we could work him in as like a wild card fourth judge. You never know. All right, don't put too much stock into that, Kokios.
As always, we appreciate your watching us live and your contributions to the chat. Thank you.
Kokios, though, here's the thing. Like you might say that people think your movie tastes are bad. I don't think so. I think your movie tastes are fascinating. Like, they are very much unconventional, but I'm here for it, honestly.
They'll be studied one day.
Right.
No,
Right.
The beautiful thing about these awards and movies is we're all allowed to have opinions, and that's great. I can hate a movie that somebody else loves, and vice versa. And as long as we all can agree on one thing, that fucking Naiad should not have gotten any fucking Oscar nominations.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the movie, and I agree. I will say this. I do appreciate that of the three of us, we have such, as Tiki mentioned, we have such eclectic taste in our top five. And I appreciate for the people who are watching this to have contributed and talked about this. And so, whether in live or after the fact, for those who are watching this, please mention your top five movies, because, I think we would be interested to know what our community says, what are their top five favorite films of last year, and to encourage again for everyone to please support movies that don't get the wider recognition, but movies that can tell great stories that touch you in your heart.
Kokios can't stand It's a Wonderful Life, but he loved Jack and Jill.
That one just physically made me hurt. Like my bones hurt now.
But in a really interesting, like roller coaster kind of way, right?
It's a fascinating opinion. It hurts my bones. Like the marrow just turned white because I hate Adam Sandler. But that's okay. Me and Code Geass can disagree, and that's a beautiful thing.
All right. Okay, so big thanks to Code Geass, Ellie B, Blue, Dragon 5, Juxtaposition 22. Let's see. I believe did I see Little Blue here?
At the very beginning.
The very beginning, very brief cameo from Little Blue. Very brief cameo from Ace Astro, a.k.a. Corvin. All right, I think that's everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you count my one comment.
I do not.
I was here.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. See y'all later.
Good night.